It's just some
I'm on
some
E.
guy. If only we were that smart to have all that going on in the background. Kind of looks like AVGN when you think about it. It's gonna take you back to the past.
Play the shitty game.
Any games that suck at, rather have.
Buffalo.
Take a diarrhea, dump in his ear.
Did I tell you, like, over the course of lockdown, I had basically binged the entirety of AVGN?
Dude, that's my childhood. Brock has indicated this channel is intended for mature audiences. Yeah, with me around.
Split to frames. Oh god, here we go.
Let's go.
Oh my god.
Oh, make sure to change the instances.
Instances?
The BP instance, the character.
I already did.
Okay. Nice. Got it. Looks like everyone is.
Yep.
Feels like people are talking about Smash again because of that new tech that Gimmer showed off.
I have no idea what you're talking about. So obviously
So-
nobody's talking about Smash.
I just love how there's the there's the multiverse thing that just got shown off today, and then we also got the news about the DLC characters for Nick Brawl. I mean,
Yeah.
Hugh Neutron though, like Hugh Neutron is a big deal.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't care about Brawl anymore. Like, it's cool and all, but it's like it's
Brawl, the Nickelodeon Brawl.
Yeah.
Brawl Stars or
All Stars
whatever.
Brawl.
I already forgot the name of it. That's how bad it is. But sometimes I don't like platform fighters. I even own the game technically. I just don't want to play it. It just doesn't have. I mean, where's the butts? Where's the cleavage?
This should do it. This should.
But
end it.
what was I
This
saying?
should end it.
For Smash, there's this notable YouTuber called Gimmer. He's like back to the lab again. That's him. Apparently, he was going to unveil some new tech, which he hyped up for like literally a month. And when he finally showed off, it's called a slingshot, which just allows you to have like better movement. It's almost kind of like a wave dash, but people are labbing it now, and it's like, oh, it's cool. So Smash got a bit of a boom recently.
I see.
Who knows?
Wait,
Maybe I'll play it.
Is this still classified as
Talking about-
GIFs?
You're talking about Ultimate?
Yeah, Ultimate.
Ultimate's getting a bunch of bugs and glitches that are imperfections. That must mean that it's just as good as Melee.
Output image in PNG format.
You could have also just renamed all of them to PNG, but that
I'm
works
not
too.
renaming all of them individually.
Dang, bro, that's a lack of. You're not gonna hire a SpaceX at that rate. They probably will actually.
Well, does your uncle
Like,
know Elon Musk?
No, I was gonna say because like as an engineer, part of being an engineer is being slightly lazy, or at least having enough work ethic to figure out how to be lazy correctly.
How's it going today, Onyx? I'm tired, but I'm doing good.
Hello, Onyx.
I want to cook Onyx, but other than that, I'm fine.
What?
Cook
I
master.
want to cook Jesse. I've been watching Breaking Bad. It's just so
you know
funny
what?
to me.
Oh, look at all that! Look at those tabs.
Like, he's just so mean to Jesse for no reason. It's like, you imbeciles. Like, dude, just calm down. Jesus.
That is a lot of tabs, guys.
That's a lot of. You can say that's a lot of cream. Ooh.
Oh, jeez.
That was terrible. I need to go
Yes.
over each frame. Can I just bulk edit these?
No.
Gotta be a way I can bulk edit, right? And do bulk export, but not bulk edit. Oh.
Alright,
Oh. Oh.
Bulk edit.
let's get started.
All right.
So, you have to excuse me, I'm eating.
You want me to do it then?
No cursing. Blaze, I have to break it to you, but we don't really do those on dev streams. On my personal streams, sure. Dev streams, I don't really do the redeems.
No offense, Blaze, but you kind of fucking wasted it.
I can redeem. I can return it.
Oh, okay.
I'll do that later. You have to remind me, but I can return your points later.
He's about to learn us the Ingern. What? Engine.
NG.
Food dispenser here.
Food.
Alright, go
ahead. So this stream is supposed to going to be focusing on tutorial related stuff. Refund 4 hours you die from Twitch cancer. Oof. We've been constantly getting like a bunch of questions and stuff here and there. And tutorials are something that we've wanted to do for a while. We've just not had the time due to the fact that we're busy working on this to like make tutorials, so we're gonna go over some stuff on stream.
Yeah, we don't really have anybody dedicated to like doing a PR. Well, not PR, but like the more community facing stuff to like
media.
Media, stuff like that. We would ask like say Bane, because Bane is really good at that kind of stuff, but he has literally his own fan game, so that's not a good idea.
We don't have a media manager. I am the media manager, and I am terrible at it.
No, you're just overworked. You need more worker comp. You need to talk to HR.
I am HR.
Damn it! HR's an asshole.
So yeah, that'll be the focus of this stream. We can show off a couple of small things that we have worked on, but we'll probably say that for later. For the most part, this is just going to be answering questions that people have most frequently, showing people how to do the most basic things that everyone asks how to do every single time without fail.
Which makes sense. It's not like properly documented, so people are going to ask.
Well, some things are things you should look up a fucking Unreal tutorial on how to do, not ask us. Which I want to start off the stream with this here. Look up some goddamn Unreal tutorials, please. Like, for the love of God, please look up Unreal tutorials. There are people online who have dedicated time out of their lives to teach other people how to use Unreal. We are not those people. We're not the ones that have dedicated time out of our lives to teach you how to use Unreal. And I kind of sound a little bit heated when I say this, but even learning the very basic of shit in Unreal will go a very, very, very long way. Like understanding how to interact with the main window here, knowing the details versus the world settings, the world outliner, the levels, everything in the details panel, placed actors, your content window, dragging things out of the content window, very basic blueprint stuff. That stuff will help significantly. Like, just understanding how that stuff functions will exponentially increase your ability to learn how to do this.
Yeah, and we're not even talking about, like, say, knowing how to code or use a blueprint system exactly. It helps if you know that stuff, and if you ever want to look into coding or game development, some points you do that, but it's like, we're talking about the equivalent of, like, basic computer knowledge, like how to open up a Word file and save and stuff like that. Like, if you were new to it, like, Unreal has, like, things you should learn just to be able to function in the engine.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I agree with Fizz on this. Like, he does sound a bit heated, but I kind of agree with him because he's the one who's been kind of wrangling all the questions, and I'll be kind of frustrated too. No offense, like, I understand people have questions, not everyone knows, and also there's just stuff in Unreal that you can learn Unreal and not know about certain things with Unreal. So, everyone has gaps for knowledge and time, and you just want to ask a question, but it really, like, we really heavily encourage to, like, before you really want to get started with this framework specifically, especially, like, just look up like Unreal Engine tutorials. Do that first. Know how to use it. You learn how to use the basic engine first before you try learning the framework. Please.
Please, for the love of God.
We're not like, of course, if people ask, we'll say it, but just know that every time you ask us, that's a sanity point that Fizz loses, and he needs that for his Elden Ring playthrough.
I'm already in the negatives.
He's already in the negatives, guys. Come on. One light equals one focus point for Fizz, so he can cast another incantation.
So yeah, just knowing a lot of that basic shit is going to significantly help. Even if you're one of those, I learned by doing kinds of people.
That's me.
Trust me. Look up some very basic tutorials. You're going to need that. If you don't understand how the basic functionality of this works, you're not going to know how to do it yourself. All right.
You're making me hungry now. Stop making food noises.
Hamburger has been consumed.
I think that's a good breakpoint you could put in your YouTube video. We're going to have a whole intro section where it is ranting and being mad.
And then just like at the very end, consumed hamburger.
Consumed hamburger.
No.
Hamburger.
Hamburger?
Okay. So this is going to be all Fizz for this one for the most part. You're going to talk about how to do a lot of the beginning stuff, you would say, I guess.
All right. So the first time that you open up the didn't want that open. You open up the project. By the way, quick thing. Everything we're going to be going over here is going to be for the Colorful Combat update and above. We're going to be talking about a couple of things that we have changed in our version of the project that might not exactly be the same in the Colorful Combat update. However, a lot of the stuff should translate. That, and if we talk about it now, then we don't have to talk about it later when we release this update. You can just still refer back to the stream.
Yeah, it should be compact enough that you can still go over and it'll be relevant. We'll try not to take too long.
When you first open up the project, you'll open up onto this level. This here is the main menu level. If you want to do main menus are generally their own level as well, like they exist in their own level. Whenever you hit play, it'll just pop up this menu right here. A lot of people are constantly ask, how do you add a new level? And it says right here. It's weird that people keep asking, even though you open up on this screen right here specifically, and big black text, it says, go to file and click on new level. And yet people still manage to ask anyway.
I don't...
To start creating a new level, you need to go to File up here and hit New Level. Select location for the level, which it will ask like what folder you want to add it on. Generally, you could put it in Maps, or if you want to create your own like new folder, you can go to Content, right-click, hit New Folder. And then you can create like it'll ask like a basic go to new level. It'll also ask like where you want to, or what kind of thing you want to make. And a completely empty level, a VR based level, a level with time of day settings, or a default one. Generally, I would suggest either the default or the time of day one. The empty level does not include like a atmosphere, any lighting, any like basic player start actors or anything like that. If you know what you're doing in Unreal Engine, you don't need this part of the tutorial, first of all, but if you want to start completely from scratch, the empty level is what you would go with. I+ is not built with VR in mind, so I don't even know what would happen if you went over there. So I would suggest either the default or the time of day. After that, it'll basically boot up the level. Oh, hold on. New debug room master. And the first things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure you have a player start actor here. So if I go up to the world outliner, click away, I click this, it'll say player start. I think this one here is player start 1, yes. If you have the player start here, which if you click the default or the time of day, this should already exist in the level. The level is created with this basic stuff in it. You're gonna see this player start tag. Start 1 is the default. Reese, did you alter it so that way it looks for an empty one first, or?
It now in the updated version, you can still type in start 1 but if you don't type anything in, it will just grab a random start of any start. Doesn't matter if there's a tag in it or not. It'll just grab it. So now, because that was a problem that a lot of people were having, because it was a little confusing and not really properly shown off. You have to type in start one with a capital S for the characters to spawn in the current public version, but now in the updated version for Beyond Colorful Combat, you don't have to type anything in.
We'll probably come back to this player start actor in a little bit because special rings also interact with them in a certain way, but I'll be getting back to that later. But yeah, in the current build of Colorful Combat Update, which is a build that you can obtain publicly, you do have to type in start one. We would still suggest doing that regardless, even after this update comes out, but if you don't, it will still start. It should still start the game, so if I click play, it'll start. That's not the only thing you got to do. There's one other thing you got to make sure you do, but we'll go over that in a second. Let's see here. So yeah, there's start one. There's also like start two, start three, which start four, basically start number, which is up to, or which is for the purpose of like leaving a level and coming back. So if you go to like a special stage and then you want to come back to this level, well, you don't want to start at the beginning of the level. You want to start where you left off on the previous level, from like a lamppost or a special stage or something like that, you know, or like a special ring. So there is some special interactivity, which is why I still suggest typing in something into the player start one. But for the purpose, like if you don't have, or if you don't plan on having special stages and you only expect to have one player start actor in a level, then you can do that. It's not that big of a deal. The other thing you're going to want to do is on the right side here, you got the detail panel and you got the world settings panel. You're going to want to go to world settings and you're going to make sure this game mode override is set to new Sonic game mode. There's going to be a couple of options here. There's like Sonic game mode, Shadow game mode, a couple other things. We probably need to get rid of a lot of these old ones and just have a basic one.
They are to be removed. The only one that should be there is the new Sonic game mode.
I don't know if we have that set to default. If we can set it to default, we should. If it's not, I don't know. But you should always double check it. Yeah. The very first time you open up the project, you're going to want to double check it. In this, you should probably check that for every level, but it might stay consistent per level. That might be like an editor setting, not a level setting. I'm not sure. But the override game mode should be set to new Sonic game mode. The name name might change later on because it's currently called new Sonic game mode because there used to be an old one and there also used to be an original as well as a Shadow variant. So we created a new one all for Sonic game mode leftovers from Vanilla Infinity Engine. Yes, it is. We're going to be getting rid of a lot of that old stuff. It's called New Sonic Game Mode because we had to name it something different, but it's still a Sonic Game Mode. We should probably name it something like Master Game Mode or something like that.
Yeah, we will. We will change the name, but we will inform when we change the name.
Yeah. So in the future, if you're watching this in the future and this update is released, it may not be called New Sonic Game Mode. It may be called Master Game Mode or something like that. If it does, if we do change it, I might update the description with like a note saying like, oh, it's this now. But we'll see. That's the other thing you're going to want to do. That should only be something you do the very first time you open up the project. After that, and assuming you save the project, it should stay. You shouldn't have to do it again. But upon setting that and setting the player start here, also making sure the player start is not overlapping with anything with the collision, it should start up and it should start up kind of like this here. Sonic should spawn in. He should have his HUD already. Sonic is going to be the default character you spawn in as. Naming things is one of the hard problems in computer science. It is, but in this situation, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But yes, that's one thing you should always make sure you do. And this is kind of just a side note, back to do with the player start. Anything that has to do with player tag or like tags or a name string or text variable, spacing, symbols, and caps are all sensitive. If you want to type anything, you have to make sure you type it exactly the same as if you're referencing something else. Like if you're typing something and it's in reference to something else, you have to type it exactly the same. And we'll be going over that in a little bit. You can set the preferred game mode as default in the project settings. You can override it per level through the world settings panel. All right, yeah, that's what I thought. It should be that by default. If it's not, we'll have to change it later. All right, so there's that. That should be getting you into the level. As in, like, the level should spawn. Sonic should be inside the level. You should have the HUD. You should have access to all of your abilities and stuff like that. You can run around. That's just the very basic getting things started. We should have a lot of that stuff already set up by default, meaning you should handle itself whenever you first boot it up. But in the event that, like, if you're playing in colorful combat, some of this stuff isn't finished yet, so that's what you're going to want to do in these situations. You're going to want to make sure that stuff is all set up properly. Another thing you're going to want to do, we'll go into this in a little bit more detail later, but in any single level that you have, there's an actor here that we call the level manager blueprint. You're going to want to put that in your level. We'll go over into more detail later, but I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to stick that in your level. That handles a lot of, like, background information stuff and involving like item boxes and checkpoints and other things like that. I was wondering how you change the default character that's spawns. We could go over that real quick. That's super simple. If you go into the instance right here, it's in Vital BPs. It probably will stay in Vital BPs. Just to go over this real quick, some of the locations and some of the blueprints might change over time. So if you're watching this in the future with this update released, some of the files that I'm going to probably be mentioned somewhere might have changed its location, in which case we'll probably like have notes specifying where you can find that kind of stuff. But in the Colorful Combat update, in the Vital BPs, you'll be able to find the BPI_GI instance, which is blueprint _game instance _instance, which is a it's an oxymoron naming. It'll open up on this one right here for some reason. I don't know why it always opens on that one. Probably because we just leave it open, we never change it. The variables here are not finished organizing, but what you're going to want to do, I believe in the Colorful Combat update, you're going to go to, it's still under game mode, I believe, or game info. And there's a actor array variable, or I'm sorry, a class array variable called selected im characters. It's called im for multiplayer. There is another one that's unused. It's called selected class. We used to use that one, but we do not use that one. We probably need to get rid of it. But the selected im characters, these are like a list of characters that you can, or that are set up. Position 1 is going to be the one, or position 0 is going to be the one that you play as. Position 1 is going to be like the first follower. The second one is going to be the second follower. Things like that. Where if we end up getting followers set up, that's what this is going to be. I don't know if we'll ever actually get that set up by 1.0, but if we can, that'd be great. If you have something you like, if for example, if I wanted to change to Knuckles, you could select this and go to BP Knuckles, or you could also just grab the item and drag it. If like it already exists on your list, you want to compile, hit play, and bam, you are now Knuckles. Similar to what I no, I want Sonic up here. You could also just select it and choose another character. Let's go with Shadow. I changed Sonic to Shadow, so Sonic is no longer in the array period. It's now Shadow instead. But Shadow is in position 0, which is player 1. Look, he's got little glasses. Which we're going to change back to Sonic. We could probably have a thing, which I guess you and I will talk about this later, Reese or Emmanuel, where instead of having to like go into the blueprint or into the game instance, we could probably have a thing in the blueprint. Or I don't know, maybe the level manager won't be able to do it. I don't know. We'll figure out some way to get a setting into like the level details that helps you decide like which character you're going to spawn in as. That way you don't have to go into the instance every time. That, and you can like open up one level as one character and another level as another character.
Yeah, that makes that wouldn't be hard to do. I imagine. I imagine you seeing a reference to the character.
It would probably
class.
it would be in the level blueprint more than likely.
Yeah, it's mainly set up in the instance from the menus, so then it saves the information of what character you selected from the menu.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what this is mostly for. It's just for main menu stuff like this variable. In the future, we may set up a thing like in the level blueprint where you can decide which level or character you want to play as, and it'll just save it to the instance. That way, in the event where you don't want a fan game where you can select a character from the menu, you can simply just be like, oh, you're playing this level, well, this level has this character in it. Or something like that, you know. Let's see. Speaking of menus, we can go over menus next. Let me open up the other menu. Save, don't really care. So, let's see here. I think it's in the instance. It's not character setup. It's level info related. So, you have created a level. Let's say you have a level. And you want your level to show up on the main menu. If you go into the BP_GI instance, you will see a category called level info related. This is stuff that the levels will look for. There are two variables. There's level info and active levels. Level info is one you're going to want to change. Active levels is not. Essentially what happens is whenever you create a level and whenever you start the game, the instance will go through the level info, look through its information, and then populate the active levels list based on the information of the level's info. So you got Planet Wisp here. If I turned off active, compiled, I went to my levels here.
Here we go.
You'll see that this Planet Wisp level that we have is not in the array of available levels. That is because even though it exists in this array here is what is used to populate the levels in the main menu. And it's based on this one little variable right here. So let's say if you want to create a level, you would go over, you would select this array, levels info array, and you would select add element. A little element will pop down here. If you drop down the menu, you will see all this different information. Some of this stuff you don't have to worry about. Other stuff you will have to. Things like red rings, top time, top rings, top score, top rank, character time, character score. You don't have to mess with any of that. That is stuff that gets set after the level has been completed. It's just a bunch of information that is going to be displayed on the main menu level. So you've got the level name. This here is what is displayed on the menu. Okay, Reese, where is the main menu widget?
Main menu widget, it is in,
or like the level select widget.
A level select widget. Main menu related. So you go widgets, main menu related folder, and then it's in the top right.
Level select. It's a lot easier than pulling it up constantly over and over again. Yeah. So we have zone name right here. That zone name is going to be set by this level name variable. So if I created something like if I create that level there, that will then show up on right here in the level name. There's also the acronym. Let's see here. There we go. Which will also show up on the menu. I don't remember where it shows up. I think it shows up. Oh, it shows up on the left side here. So you can't see anything here, but like earlier you saw like a box with like 3 letters. That's an acronym of the level. That's what the acronym will show up. Act numbers, that's going to be changed. This currently doesn't do anything. We're going to set it up so that like you can have multiple acts in a level, or this can consist of like an array of levels. And you could like possibly in the menu select which act that you want to do in the level and stuff like that. Currently, you can just leave that at 0. That doesn't do anything at the moment. Top rings, top time, top score, all that stuff. Red rings, leave all that stuff. Top rank, it's empty, doesn't really do anything. Level image, this is the image that displays right here. Like this image right here is what gets displayed. So if I, like, if you have a texture, texture asset here, you can select it and just simply set it here, and it'll be like, oh, that is the level's little thumbnail, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a level thumbnail.
Yeah, it's basically a level thumbnail. File name. Now this is super, super, super important. Like, this is incredibly important. How's it going, Fabio? Let's go to our maps here. And let's say I wanted to add this level here into the list of, or into the menu. This is a level I want to add to the menu. I have to type in exactly letter for letter, capital for capital, number, symbol per symbol, everything exactly as it is spelt here. So, file name Z2. You have to spell it exactly as it is. If there's an underscore, add an underscore. If there's a question mark, a dash, exclamation point, add that. If it's a capital letter, add the capital letter. If there's a number, add the number. Like, you have to spell this exactly the same as it is listed in your content browser, or else it will not be able to find the level. The other thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set the level to active, unless you don't want the level to be active right away, in which case you can set the level active upon completing a different level. That's a system we started working on. I don't think it's complete, though. We'll have to test it out a little bit. But setting it to active is what will allow it to appear on the level list. So let's just grab a random thing right here. We're going to go ahead and hit compile. And one thing you're going to want to do is, if I go in here, it's probably not going to show up.
Here we go.
Oh, it does show up. In the event that it doesn't show up, one thing that you can do is you can hit the U button. Hitting the U button, let me turn this fucking thing down, it's so loud. Okay. In the event that your level does not show up, which could very well happen, if you select the U button, it will delete all save data. And then what you'll do is you'll simply exit the level again, and then you will open it back up. And then it should show up in theory. So there we go. See, we've created a level, Emmanuel's Wiener Zone. It's got a little icon there, and if I select it,
hey guys, what's going on? I just got back to the stream. I had to step out for a second. Did someone, did y'all do something? Did we learn anything?
The engine's probably not going to crash, but as you can see, this level has now started up. I have not been in this level in like 10 years, so. Holy shit, this fucking...
Which level?
This saturation.
Yeah, the saturation in there is off the chart.
Holy hell. Man, that's nostalgic. This is nostalgic.
I can't see yet.
God, you're really far behind then, I can see it.
Jeez. Wait a minute.
This is now Emmanuel's Wiener. We have renamed the level.
I guess it is large.
Wow.
It's
right,
large, and it's Green Hill Zone, meaning everyone hates it.
Ironically, all of the Green Hill Zone assets have got Seaside Hill textures on.
Yeah. So that is how you add a level to your menus. Like I said, make sure
just have a little less Emmanuel's Wiener in it.
If you hit the U button, you'll probably hear this sound. Boop. And it'll delete the save. I did not hit exit, but I guess that's something it does now, as it exits the level. But then if I re-enter... Probably nothing will change because I didn't have anything set. But yeah. Any like ranks you had, any time, score, red rings collected, it'll all reset. I think we did actually patch that problem where it doesn't show up unless you delete your save data. I think we actually patched that problem, but I don't know that for a fact. In the event that the Colorful Combat update does not have that patch, just simply press U. So that's how you add a level to your main menus. That is something everyone asks. Now you guys know how to do it. Stop asking. No, I'm kidding. All right. Let's go over real quick. Goal rings, as well as the results screen, because this is something that you're going to want in a level, obviously. Every single level has to have a goal ring, and every single level has to have a results screen. Without the goal ring, even if you use the clear condition system that we have shown off previously, which is not in Colorful Combat, so this doesn't really apply to Colorful Combat, but in the future updates, if you use the clear condition system that we have created, you still have to have a goal ring in your level, and you still have to have here's a goal ring actor, and you still have to have a results actor. This actor here, this results actor, is what calculates the score. It's what calculates your rings, your rank. It's also what sets the time in the menu. So like earlier when we saw the menus, we saw like best time, best score, best rings, the red rings collected. This actor is what records all of that. It calculates all the information. It records it, tells the game instance to be like, hey, update your information. This is what this level's info is now. Next time you open up the menu will have that information updated. So let's say we're gonna return to menu, and then we're gonna go here, and then you can see new debug room. Best time was Knuckles, best score silver, blank, top rank E, red rings 0 collected. So if I went and I like grabbed some rings here, grabbed some red rings, and then beat the level, it's gonna give me a score, and the next time I go in, it should be updated, unless it doesn't, in which case it should in the future. Yeah, it doesn't work right now. It gave it a Seagate Reese, which is a bug. It gave all the information that was supposed to go to new debug room to Seagate, which may not be a bug with the levels or the results screen. It may just be a bug with the fact that I opened the level in editor rather than from the menu. I would imagine if I opened the level from the menu, it'd probably correct itself, but I cannot say for sure. But anyway, whenever that's the reason why you're going to need that stuff. There's also another reason. If you clicked on the results screen, not the goal ring, the results screen is where you will put in all the information that will dictate the score, how it calculates the score, as well as what level you open up next. You don't put that information into the results screen anymore. You actually put that in the goal ring, but the goal ring is the one, or the results screen is the one that actually does it. The goal ring will tell the results screen which level to open. You used to tell the results screen, but ever since we added the the ability to complete a level through a clear condition, I had to change it. So like, is activate next level. So if you have a level that in your list but is not set to active, that's what this is supposed to do. It's supposed to set the next level that loads up as active, meaning in theory it should show up in the menus again. Like if you play, like you say you complete a level, you get to the next level, and then you quit out and go to the main menu, that level that you just beat should now show up on the main menu if it hadn't previously, because it's being told, hey, you have now been reached, you can now show up in the main menu again. So it's kind of like a way of like saving progress in a way with level progression. You can set it to deduct a time bonus, which this max level time variable right here, this here is the maximum time that the player can reach before it starts deducting points. So This is in seconds, by the way, 300 seconds, which is what, a minute and a half? I don't know. No, that's not a minute and a half. 300 seconds. What do I have that set as? I'm bad at math, I'm sorry. That's 5 minutes. So whatever this is, after 5 minutes, or after whatever you have this set to, it will now start deducting score from your total score. So rather than adding time, or rather than giving you a score bonus for the time that you beat it, it will now start deducting a score based on the time that you beat it. Basically, once you reach that point, it will start giving you a worse score because you didn't reach the par time, if that makes sense.
It's kind of like a system that's in. If you ever play Spark 2, there's a similar system where after a certain amount of time, you just start losing score. So, don't take too long, or else you start, social credit deducted starts happening. You don't want that.
Yeah. To my knowledge, if I remember right how we have it set up, there's this max time bonus. If you beat the level within the time that the max time is set in, so the max time is set to right now 5 minutes. If you beat the level within this max time, it will give you the entirety of this time bonus. For every second that you spend below the par time, it will start deducting this score. And if you spend long enough, this score can get into the negatives and start removing your score. It can do that. I think we probably can come up with an option to make it not do that, just have this zero out rather than be a negative number. But that's probably an option a lot later. There's also the X rank time. You probably noticed there is an X rank. That is something that we have come up with here on the Infinity Plus. The X rank is supposed to be similar to an S rank, where the S rank is meant to be the best rank you can get by perfecting the level. The X rank is something that we came up with with the idea of speedrunning in mind. So if you want to add a speedrun time, meaning if you use glitches, or you abuse the physics engine, or use unintended shortcuts and stuff like that, if you reach the time under this here, or if you just play the level to absolute perfection and you beat the level within this time, you can get an automatic X rank regardless of your score. That's what that's meant to be. So that's basically the entirety of the results screen. You're going to want to have this in your level, because without it, it cannot open a next level, and it cannot calculate your score of the level once you have completed it. So onto the goal ring. You're going to have a goal ring in your level. After you add the goal ring, you're going to want to see if say, hey, do you want it active or inactive? By default, it's set to active, meaning it's spawned into the level. You got your results screen actor, which you can select one. It has to be a results screen actor, but say, for example, you have more than one results screen actor, you could select one of them. Say, for example, because currently right now how we have it set up, you can actually have multiple exits. Maybe you want a separate results screen actor specifically for a secret exit. So if I hit this goal ring right here, it'll send me to this one here. But if I hit a different goal ring, it could send me to a different one. Or I could hit a different goal ring and it could send me to the same one. It's kind of just up to you how you want to set it up. But you're going to want to select a goal ring. You can also use the eyedropper tool and just select one. You also do need to set a level manager ref. Stop it. There. You also got to set a level manager ref, which there should only be one level manager ref in your level. Do not have more than one of these. Unlike the results screen and unlike the goal ring, you're going to want to have only one level manager. But you are going to have to set that as a reference to the goal ring. That way the level manager can communicate with it and communicate information to it. Within the level manager, and as well within the goal ring, is your next level to open variable. Similarly to what I mentioned earlier with this game instance, if you're going to add a level, you have to spell it exactly the same. So currently right now, if you beat the level here, it will send you back to the main menu. So our main menu is L_menu, L standing for level. So level_menu, L_menu. So all caps, because this file here is in all caps with an underscore, because this level here has an underscore. It has to be exactly the same. You can also set the score requirements in the goal ring. 0 being an X rank. So if you want a method of achieving an X rank without having to beat the par time, you could do that as well. 1 being S rank, 2 being A rank, 3 being B rank, 4 being C rank, 5 being D rank, 6 being E rank. So you will set the required score to get the specific ranks that you want. So essentially all this information will be passed into the oh goddamn it, I can't select it. All this information will be passed into the results screen, or the results actor. So you're going to want to make sure you set this info. This is all the default stuff. This score is like, all these scores are actually pretty short. You're probably going to want much larger scores for your levels, more than likely. But that's kind of just up to you. Not a whole lot of people like really care about scoring system too much, but with Sonic, scoring is still important because you get ranked based on your score and stuff like that. So that's what you're going to want to do with your goal ring. The goal ring can be interacted with using buttons as well as enemy linkers, which both the enemy link blueprint and the button blueprint use the same interface, which if you know anything about Unreal, then you know interfaces are unique little workarounds to pass information between actors and stuff like that. So this blueprint is this ring is currently set to active, meaning if I walk up here, it's on. However, if I give this guy a bop, the goal ring is going to disappear because I have set it to be like, hey, the enemy linker has recognized its tagged enemy as dead. Now it's going to send information to its paired actor, which was the goal ring, and the goal ring is like, hey, I have received information, and this information is saying I should be inactive, so I'm going to deactivate. So now the goal ring is inactive. However, if I hit the switch, the goal ring will reactivate, and I can deactivate it again. On, off, on, off, so on and so forth. You get the idea.
Yeah, we could talk about more about interfaces and linkers, like, and some other time. But you know, it's all connected.
It's
or
super
you can connect if you want to.
It's super useful. That is like super useful stuff. It also like allows for more complex and dynamic level design, as well as like allowing you to be more creative with levels and stuff like that. So those are things you're going to want in every single level. You're going to want one level manager, and at the very least, one goal ring and one result screen. You do not have to have red rings in your level. I believe we have updated it so that if the level manager recognizes that no red rings exist, it won't set any red ring data, and it won't expect any red ring data. You don't necessarily have to have like checkpoints either, but I guess we could quickly go over checkpoints. Checkpoints are pretty useful because you know they're checkpoints. The only thing you're gonna really need to worry about are like three things. Whether or not the checkpoint can reset. If you have a checkpoint that resets, that means whenever you hit one checkpoint and then hit another one, it will reset. So if I hit this checkpoint, that one is set to reset. So if I hit this checkpoint, the other one will probably reset after like I leave and come back. Or it's supposed to, but it's not. I think that system might be broken at the moment. But ideally, the thing is if you hit one checkpoint and then you hit another checkpoint, the other checkpoint will reset. That's one thing you'll want to know. Set up your checkpoints to do, depending on how you want your level to work. You can set your checkpoint width, how wide it spreads. So if you've got like a really wide area and you want to make sure your like Sonic runs through it or whoever, you can set the width, and you can also set the height. So if I set it to 50 or 560, I guess, you can see it stretch all the way up there, meaning it's like super wide. You got to be careful with this. You don't want to accidentally like have it overlap with parts of your level and you accidentally like activate a checkpoint from below or from above or something like that. Another thing you're going to want to do, this system will probably be different in the next update or the 1.0 update, but in Colorful Combat currently, every checkpoint has to have an ID, so you're going to want to set that. So checkpoint _02, that's checkpoint 2. And there's also this one, checkpoint _01, that's checkpoint 1. You're going to want to set that. We'll probably be reworking the checkpoint system a little bit here in the near future. I don't know if we'll get it done by this next update, but yeah, that's something you're going to probably want to set in your levels if your levels are going to be long enough to warn checkpoints. I guess we can go over the level manager real quick because it's super vital to how levels function. One button you're going to want to press before you like release your level or whatever is assign item box IDs. If you did so correctly, this little print string will come up and says success item box count 26. That'll tell you how many item boxes are in the level. This debug song list isn't really important. This is entirely just for showcasing being able to cycle level like music into levels throughout levels. So like if one part of your level has this track versus another part of the level has this track, you know, you can, that's kind of what this is all about. It's not super important. Level weather D type, sunny. This is stuff we're going to be expanding on a little bit more, but you can set the level weather D type. I don't think that's in Colorful Combat. I could be wrong, but I don't think it is. The post-processing volume?
The effects are in Colorful Combat. They're just not tied to that function, I believe.
Okay. Post-processing volume, I don't know why we have that set as a variable. I'm sure there's a reason behind it. I'm sure it does something.
Does it have to do with drill?
It's, if I remember correctly, the reason that's in there is for an accessibility feature that is yet to be added where objects and certain types of like assets are highlighted in different colors.
Oh, right, for like color blindness or people who are visually impaired.
What that's there for in the future.
Yeah, so in the future this will be super important, but at the moment it is not. Reset checkpoints. I think that's supposed to reset the checkpoints upon overlapping with other checkpoints, but I don't know. In a few minutes, finish up boxing and get a few questions. All right, that's fine. We'll still be here. There's also the clear condition stuff, which none of this is in none of this is in the you know, Colorful Combat update. We'll go over this in a little bit, but right now it's not super important. Is special stage. This is important. So let me open up. Where's that other level at? Oh, Hidden Palace. Don't save. So here in Hidden Palace, Hidden Palace is kind of like, this here is kind of just an example of a level that does not have a gold ring or a blueprint, but that's just because we have an alternative way of exiting the level. If you have alternative ways of exiting the level, you don't necessarily have to have like a gold ring or a result screen, but just know that in doing so, none of the information in that level is going to be saved in the menus. And it's also probably not going to be saved anywhere else. Without that stuff, that any information that exists in the level is not going to be saved. This is an exception because we have a workaround, and it's not really have to do with the levels. It actually has to do with these super stand actors, which are special. They interact with the level manager. The level manager says, hey, this emerald has been collected. And then the super stand's like, oh, well, if this emerald's been collected, I'm going to turn on. Like I'm going to set myself to already active. But that's like a specific scenario thing. But anyway, as I was going to originally go over, the level manager, as you can see, this is considered a special stage. I don't remember all of the specific details, which is sad because I'm the one that created this functionality. Setting this is important because whenever you boot into a level and the level manager looks through all of its information in order to prepare to set things up, it will look for this boolean and be like, oh, is this level a special stage level? Like, is this considered to be a special stage level? So technically, any level could be a special stage if you want it, but like obviously this is meant to be like special circumstances where this is a special stage. In the event that this recognizes that it's a special stage, it will set up special information. I wonder if I can like look it up real quick by opening this. Super Ring Handler, setup music, special stage related. Okay, yeah. Essentially what this does is it will wait for one of two things to happen. If the level manager recognizes that this is a special stage, it will wait for one of two events to occur. Either one, a Chaos Emerald to be collected, or two, a fail-safe to be activated. Or not really a fail-safe, but a fail scenario. So if you fail the special stage, it will automatically boot you out. If you collect a Chaos Emerald, it will boot you back out to the previously selected level. So it will like save. We have a system in place for saving the previous level, but that's in the special ring blueprint, if I remember right. It's not in the level manager, but that's something we'll go over in a little bit. So the special stages is important. It's what tells the level manager, hey, you're in a special stage, either look for a lose scenario or look for a win scenario, and upon doing so, boot you back out to the next level. We could probably expand on that to where like it takes your current score that's inside of that level and adds it to your other score. Similarly to like a classic Sonic game where after completing the stage, whether you win or lose, it'll add the score that you had collected in that stage to your main score. But we'll see about that. The other things you're going to want to do in your level manager is level background. Reese, real quick, we have like invincibility, speed up, and 1-up jingle. Are those like default overrides?
In the level manager?
Yes.
Yes, if I remember correctly. I don't know 100% if they are functioning at the moment. I think there's a boolean there, isn't there?
Yeah, like use level override songs.
Yeah. Essentially, that will just use the sound effects from the level. So, like, each character at the moment is containing its own, like, invincibility song, its own speed up jingle, and stuff like that. So, if you just want it to be consistent across the board for every character, you just turn on that boolean and fill in those audio files.
So let's say I hit this. Sonic's got his like little 1-up jingle. If I hit this here, Sonic's got his own invincibility jingle. And I think, does everyone have their own speed up shoes jingle or?
No,
Okay.
the only one that's unique at the moment is the invincibility, but they are set up so you can customize them. I just didn't bother customizing it besides the invincibility.
Yeah. So if I hit this one here, Sonic, he's got his like little speed up shoe song. And then if I go and I swap to like, let's swap to silver. So the 1-up and the speed up shoes will be the same. However, the invincibility song will be unique. If you don't want that to happen, what you can do is you can turn this boolean on, and whatever soundtrack you have put in here will be what plays for every character. So if I overrode it with some song, it doesn't matter what song, it would override it. I want to see if it actually works. Music.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if it works.
This is a perfect song.
Oh no.
Unreal. What are you doing?
Oh god.
This is a perfect song. Does it work? It does! I picked the drum solo one, okay.
The drum solo one.
Yeah, there's 4 different ones, remember? One of them is just a long-ass fucking drum solo. So you can do that if you so desire. And it doesn't matter what character I had selected, it would have just played that song. My first question, how to change and customize the HUD. We'll go over that probably in a little bit. I'll have Reese do that. Just real quick to finish going over the level manager. You have level set up here. Play the background music. Currently, I have it set to off. So if I turn boot up the level, no music's gonna play. Personally, I prefer testing without level music, but Emmanuel is not like me. So if I turn that on, it will start playing the background music, and it'll play whatever this level BGM is. Ambience, I'm not sure what the ambience does. I think that's things like, air, birds, things like that. You can set that up. You can you can set the ambience to be its own thing. There's also play random song, which I assume that's in like the debug song list.
I don't remember adding that.
I don't remember.
I think maybe I added that, and I think it's just sources from the I think it sources from the same list of debug songs, but I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
It's a bit old.
There's also the music volume multiplier, which you can then add it like an individual multiplier for each individual level. Level name for restart. Again, similarly to like the past 3 things that I said, anytime you have to open a level, or you tell a blueprint to open a level through a instance editable variable such as this one, make sure you type everything in exactly the same. So this level is called L_debug room mass. We have it typed in exactly the same. L_debug room mass. Same capital letters, same underscore everything. That is super important. The default sound mix, boost sound, underwater sound, these are just sound mixes that you can create and replace for each individual level. Say, for example, you're playing like, you have a seaside level and you go underwater and you want to have a specific underwater ambience, like when you're underwater. But say, for example, you create a chemical plant level, and because you're not in regular water, you're like in a chemical water, maybe it has a different underwater sound. Like a different underwater ambience, in which case you would set that here. That's pretty much it for the level manager. The only other thing are the clear condition stuff, which I kind of explained in a previous stream how they work. If a level needs a clear con to be completed, if it will spawn in the goal ring upon completing the level. If this is set to off, instead of spawning in a goal ring, it will simply complete the level immediately. This here will despawn the goal ring. If this is set to true, it will spawn in a goal ring. I think it'll spawn in all of the goal rings, but I'll have to change it. I'm not sure. Is despawn goal ring? If this is active, that means if there is a goal ring in the level, it will disable. So for example, if you want to create a clear condition, but you don't want a goal ring in your level at all, you can, but you also don't want to have to find the goal ring, you can turn this off, meaning it won't spawn the goal ring, and it will complete the level on completion. But you can also select this on, and it will despawn the goal ring, meaning you could put the goal ring anywhere in your level, but as long as this on, the goal ring will be despawned and inactive, and as long as you don't have something else activated, it will be uninteractable, like meaning you won't be able to interact with it. Use emerald shards. That's like a default thing. I figured most people are going to want to use emerald shards by default, but you can have technically any clear condition. If you use the emerald shards, if this is turned on, that means this will the blueprint or level manager will automatically look for every single emerald shard in the level and then track whether or not they've been completed. You don't have to like put in clear con requirement or anything like that for level or emerald shards. It'll automatically know how many it needs. The clear con count requirement, that's more so for the clear con class. That is hard to say. Whatever class you set up to collect, like for example rings, you can set the amount that you're required to collect, in which case whenever it recognizes that it has been this many has been collected, it will do the level complete sequence, which again either spawns in the goal ring, despawns the goal ring, or immediately clears the level or whatever. That's pretty much it for the level manager. It's super important. You do have to have it in like every single level. Without the item box ID, that means that level boxes will, or item boxes will respawn in through level streaming volumes. This is important because if you don't assign IDs to them, any item box will respawn. So for example, we got all these item boxes here. They are all set to respawn except for I think 4 of them. 2 of them being the extra life item box. I walk out of the level streaming volume, I walk back in. That this one here is now gone. However, if I went and I hit this one here, if I left the level streaming volume, I walk back in, it's back. Well, it's not back, but it could be back if I set it to respawn. Like if I said respawn to true. I grabbed it, left, walked back, it would be back. Without setting the IDs here in your level manager blueprint, it will not work. Everything will just respawn almost every time, regardless of what it is. Or they won't respawn. It's either they will respawn or they won't, regardless of what you have it set it as. I could be wrong. I don't remember how we set it up. I think the very last thing I want to go over in terms of like stage assets, something that most of everyone's probably going to want to use, would be the special stage rings. Every single time you put a special stage ring down, you're going to want to have a player start actor next to it. And you're going to want to use the tag ring_0 number. Or ring_number. In this case, it's 01. That is because the special stage ring will find out which one it is paired to, and then whenever you come back from your special stage, it will boot you back here rather than at the very beginning of the level. So for the special stage ring, you're going to want to select a level. I don't know why this is an enumeration. We should probably not make that a enumeration. You're going to want to set an ID, meaning if you have multiple super rings in your level, you're going to want to set each one with an individual ID. Same thing with checkpoints, which is something we could probably streamline with the level manager blueprint. You're also going to want to set your current level. You have to do this or else the warp ring or the super ring will not know where to bring you back after completing the special stage. Whether or not you beat the special stage or you fail the special stage, if you do not have this set, it will not know how to or where to take you back, and it will just kick you to the default level, which is the menu level. So the main things you have to know for the super rings is you have to have a ring ID, you have to have a current level, and this destination is not going to be an enum. I don't know why it's currently an enum, but it is. This will probably be a text later on, and you have to have a player start with a ring_01 tag in it. This is not set up for multiplayer or followers at the moment, but it shouldn't be super difficult to set it up. Currently, right now, it only expects you to only have one character, and then in the future, we'll have to update it. That's the main reason I wanted to go over that, because we also had talked about the player start earlier. And that's another thing that incorporates the player start actor, and just some more information you're going to want to have on hand with it. Chill Rolos, thank you for the follow. I think that's pretty much. Can you guys think of anything else for the main level stuff?
For like the pure basics of a level, I believe that is everything.
Yeah, like these are the
that you can put in
pure basic, like minimum things that are required for level. The checkpoints aren't required. I went over the checkpoints just because it's something that people are going to want to use, and special stage rings are also not required. But there are things that do need a little bit of an explanation if you do plan on using them, because they are common items that are used in levels. I guess with rings, you want to put down a ring spline. When it comes to splines, you can tell how many rings you want in it. If the rings inside of them respawn, how long it takes to respawn them. If the rings give you boost energy or wisp energy, you can also, like, energy in general means for both boost and wisp energy. If you can light speed dash on it. If you do not want the shield, electric shield, or the boost to attract them, you can also give a ring count for each ring. That's one thing that I don't think a lot of people actually know. You can actually edit how much rings are worth. So if I go to objects here, if I just put out a single ring here and I selected it, you can actually change how much this ring is worth. So if I grab this ring, it is worth 1 ring. However, if I set it to like 50,
I forgot you added that.
it now is 50 rings. So you can actually do that. And with a ring spline, you anything you set here on this spline will be edited for every single ring on the spline. Because technically you're not editing the rings, you're editing the spline. But upon boot up, the spline will take all of this information and go through every single ring in its list and copy this information into those rings. So how much energy the rings will give you on give energy, how much score the rings will give you on collection, how much each ring is worth, whether or not you can boost and attract the rings, whether or not you can use an electric shield to attract the rings, and whether or not you can light speed dash it, or if the rings will even give you energy. That's another basic actor that pretty much everyone will be using. And all that also applies to not super rings, to 10 rings. The only thing is 10 rings are not set to respawn. Like, we don't have a respawn system set up for 10 rings, but you can tell them to give energy, their ring amount, their score, and their energy amount, but having a having a ring of, having a spline of 10 rings doesn't really make sense. So, yeah. Anything else that you can think of, Emmanuel? Of like basic level actors that most of everyone is going to be using.
Sorry, can you go back to the very beginning? How do you make a level again?
First of all, you suck my dick. And then...
I thought that's what we've already been doing. I'm learning it already.
Alright. I can't think of anything else. All of that is very, very basic level stuff. Things in levels, as well as like setting things up in the menus and getting them in your main menu, like getting your levels in main menus and stuff like that. All of that is very basic things. You can all find that here. We went over all of that basic shit. If it's talking about more complex things like enemies, interfaces, level objects,
life.
Yeah, stuff like that. Other things that's not for here. We can go over more detail about some of that stuff later on. Maybe we can do some more tutorial streams in the future. But we'll see about that. Now my question is, should we go over menu and HUD related stuff next, or should we go over physics related stuff? Because Chill Rolos did have a question. He said, the current how do I change / customize the HUD? That is a super complicated question.
To be honest, because let's see, it's 8:30 for me now, and I was supposed to try to help clean up the house and stuff. So
first, like, do physics first.
Yeah, let's do that, and then I'll probably have to
rush.
Yeah, because I'll probably have to start cleaning some stuff too, because I have
Yeah, so we're gonna go over like how to alter the physics and the properties of the characters, like the basic stuff. We'll try and get back to your question here in a bit, Chill, just because I need Emmanuel's help to explain this stuff, and he has a limited amount of time he can be here.
Yeah. Also, if you could share your stream directly, that'll help. That way, in case have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll help. I wish we had that little diagram I made. I don't know where I put it.
Yeah, I don't know where it's at either.
I think I shared it here, but I don't want to go through all the images right now.
All right. So a lot of this info, all the physics info, and basically any info any character is ever going to absolutely need is in your master character. We have multiple different character blueprints. We have a master character, we have a speed parent, power parent, and a flight parent, and then every single character from then on is a child of one of those 3 parents. So if I opened up the speed parent, if I look here at the master, you can see parent class character. This is just a child of the default Unreal character class. If I open up the speed parent, you can see parent class BP _ master character, which is this here, BP underscore master character. If I open up Sunk right here, BP underscore Sonic, you can see its parent class is BP underscore parent. So it goes child, parent, master. That's the unit. That's the terminology we use. It technically, like the actual regular like programming Unreal terminology, it's just parent, child, child, or even grandchild in some instances. The master character is considered the parent character, with the speed parent being the child, and BP Sonic being another child. I don't know if they use the word grandchild, but it's another child of the child. But what we like to use, just to make it simplified, is there's the master character. This runs all of the characters. Doesn't matter what class you are. This contains information for every single character ever. So things like, run speed, interacting with objects, taking damage, rolling, interacting with certain objects like rings, springs, dash ramps, stuff like that. Super characters, underwater controls, stuff like that. That's what the master character does. Snapping and rotation. The master character contains information for every single character that every single character is going to want to use. The individual parents, so the flight parent, speed parent, and power parent, contain information that everything from the individual children are more than likely going to use. So the speed parent has abilities and other functionality for things that most speed characters are going to have. Every single speed character has access to the boost code. Every single speed character has access to the homing attack, to the light speed dash, to the kick, to wall jumping, and sliding, and drifting, quick stepping. Every single speed character has access to that information, and it's not in each individual blueprint, it's in the speed parent. And then the individual children just have code for their individual abilities. Sonic has individual code for the spin slide, which is an ability exclusive to Sonic.
Yeah, and you can also modify technically, if you know how to do it, you can modify other pre-existing moves in the speed parent, or even the master parent if you really wanted to. Mm-hmm. Because if there's an event, you can override things and change things from there, but you kind of have to know what you're doing to do that. It's a bit harder.
So, just to give a quick rundown on how modifying characters works, there is a hierarchy. If we go to class defaults here, class defaults here, class defaults here, all at the top, they're all slightly different, but the children will always contain everything that its parent has. All of the children, so Sonic and the speed parent, contain all the information from the master character. However, Sonic also contains all the information from the speed parent, but the master character does not contain the information from the speed parent because the master character doesn't care about what the speed parent has. Unless the speed parent does something specifically to override the master character is going to use its code by default. So if you're going to be changing anything, here is what you need to decide. If I change something in these characters, do I want to change it for every single character? Do I want to change it for every single character within a class? Or do I want to change it specifically for that character? Let's say, for example, I want to change the maximum run speed. Sonic's maximum run speed is set to, I believe, 7,000 units a second. And I go, I want to change the maximum run speed. I have to decide, do I want to change the maximum run speed for every single character? That includes Tails and Knuckles, who are not children of the speed parent. They are children of the power and flight parent, but they are also children of the master character. If I decided, in my fan game, I want every single character to have the exact same maximum run speed, and I don't want anyone to be different, I will change the maximum run speed in the master character, and then I will make sure each individual children don't have it overridden. If I change it in the master character, it will change the default for every single character. However, if I decide I want to make all speed characters have a higher run speed, not Tails and Knuckles, I don't want the flight characters and I don't want the power characters to have a higher run speed, I just want the speed characters to have a higher run speed. I don't care which speed character, I just want all of them. In which case, you would change the speed parent, because Tails and Knuckles are children of the power and the flight parent. They don't gain any information from the speed parent. Only the flight parent and only the power parent. So if you change the speed parent, it's only going to change children of the speed parent. But let's say you want to get even more specific. Let's say I want to be like a Sonic purist kind of individual, and I want Sonic specifically to have the highest run speed of all of the characters. Instead of changing the master character, instead of changing the speed parent, I would change Sonic's child blueprint individually. That means that whenever I start the stage, Sonic's blueprint will be like, hey, I have all of this default information overridden. I'm going to use my information instead. And Sonic specifically will have the highest run speed. Not Shadow, not Silver, not Blaze, nothing. Just Sonic, because you overrid it in the in the individual children. And that works because of this. Any information that you set in the master character will be considered default information. Any information that is altered from any child of the master will then be considered overridden information. And any overridden information is what's taken. Let's say, for example, the default running speed for all characters is 6,000 units a second. Well, let's say that I've changed the default in the speed parent from 6,000 to 7,000. That means all the speed children now have a default of 7,000. If I boot up the game and I'm playing a speed character, it will assume by default I have a base speed of 6,000 or 7,000. But if I played as flight or power character, it would be 6,000. But then if I changed it in Sonic, which is yet another child of another parent, it will override that parent. It'll be, oh, I'm playing Sonic specifically. Sonic has overridden information from the speed parent. I'm going to use Sonic's information instead. So unless a child has information that is overridden, it will essentially just use the information from the next parent up. It will go, Is Sonic's information overridden? No. Okay, let's use a speed parent. Is the speed parent's information overridden? No. All right, let's use the master character. And the master character being the highest tier is the default. I know that's kind of a lot to go over really, really quickly, and I tried to go over as detailed as I possibly could without taking 10 fucking years. But that is like stuff you have to know whenever you're editing this information.
Yeah, and will probably help also is if we do a quick little demonstration. If you go to the master character, let's say if you go to master character and click on the master character component, so you see all the details to the right. So, this will show all the variables. We're not going to go through all of them, but type in physics data.
Just physics or Fizz?
Physics data. Now, these are structures we made that contains the default physics data for when you're just running around normally. Current physics data, which you can ignore. Ice, rolling, skydive, stuff like that. For now, ignore the other ones, but essentially these are physics structures we created that has the basic default physics stuff you want to care for the character. If you go to the very top, those are the defaults when you're just running around normally as Sonic, doing all that stuff. Gravity, friction, speed, acceleration. We can explain what these all do in a bit, but let's go to the very bottom of it. Terminal velocity. That affects how quickly you fall down, essentially, how the maximum speed you can fall down, terminal velocity. Let's say we wanted to make all characters terminal velocity 500. Just type in 500, compile.
It'll take a moment. One thing you gotta know is the master character is chunky, because every single time you compile the master character, it's not only compiling itself, but it's compiling each individual child. So the master character will always take a little while to compile.
Yeah, and it gets worse the worse your PC is. Sorry.
Yeah. It's kind of unfortunate, but it's a necessary evil.
Yeah. So with that said, after a quick save, if you go to the speed parent after this and type in if you do the same step to find physics data.
Fucking keyboard.
You'll see that it's changed. If you go to the terminal velocity, it's 500 now. It used to be 1,000. Now, one thing to also point out really quickly before we move on to Sonic, which will be the same case, if you mouse over the max speed, you will see a peculiar little icon to the right of it, the little rewind button. This is an Unreal feature. What it's telling you is that number is different from whatever parent-child it inherits from, what the default of that is. So if you go to the master character, you see that it's actually 9,000. It's higher. We just have that value for the sake of it. But for the speed character, 7,000, which is what it is for default for speed characters, because there's no character we have inherits directly from the master character. They all inherit from a speed, power, or flight character. So point is, if he were, you don't have to, but if he were to click on a little yellow icon, Unreal will revert this value back to whatever the parent value is. So it will revert to 9,000.
You can also see it like brings up a little hint window, be like reset to default, the default being 9,000.
Yeah, essentially. So yeah, just a little live demonstration of how that works. And this is where you want to go. And let's quickly go over the so this is we should probably go over what all these values do after.
So like you can see. Yeah. This here is not going to have a yellow thing because it's not referencing the master character. It's referencing the speed parent. Sonic is referencing the speed parent, not the master parent or master character.
They're both the
same. So since we've not changed it in Sonic's blueprint, as far as Sonic's know, it has the correct number. Sonic's like, oh, my parent has 7,000. I've got 7,000. That must be the default. I'm fine. But if you go to the speed parent, the speed parent's parent is the master. It goes, oh, mine is 7,000, but the master's is 9,000. Mine is no longer default. You can hit this button to change it to the default. So you're not going to see that information in Sonic because unless you change Sonic specifically to something different from the speed parent, it'll change. All right, as you were saying, sorry.
No, that's fine. So let's go over all these little variables really quickly. So gravity, I think you can figure out what that is. By default, we chose a 3.5. Decrease it, you're floatier. Increase it, you fall to the ground quicker. Yeah. Friction. So the way, so this is unique to Infinity Engine specifically. How it works is that every tick while the characters are moving, they are inside of physics of volume that has like a friction applied to it. It's almost like the characters are moving through a liquid or a fluid that they move through. And this is so that there's a momentum-based platforming element to Infinity. This is something Oban decided to use, so we decided to just keep running with it. Essentially,
we did try changing it. It ended terribly. Just want to let
it
you know
ended terribly. Oban was onto something, or we're just really shit at our job. Anyway, moving on. So forewarning, friction is a little finicky because what happens? Imagine if you decrease the friction, Sonic can accelerate faster, but also he can decelerate faster. Or if we're to be more physics based about it, your change of velocity is less effective, meaning that you also can't turn as effectively. And on top of that, let's just say that if you decrease the friction too much while also not decreasing, say, your
acceleration,
or you will start flying. Yeah, your braking friction, you'll just fly off the map because Sonic will accelerate faster than the game can try to decelerate him, and he will just go flying.
It is it's also possible that like your friction can be low enough to the point where it can no longer overcome your braking friction, meaning you can no longer slow down. You will perpetually gain speed, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yes, and the reason why is because not only are you every frame is this game applying friction through a friction volume thing, but also it is applying momentum, which is a multiplier of your current velocity times a multiplier we'll get into later. We are planning to change the system slightly in the future using C++ code so that one of these variables will not be needed, but it will still, for the most part, a lot of these things will still apply. So the friction will still be kind of finicky and will still control how buttery or how sticky you are to the ground. Max speed is pretty self-explanatory. That's just your maximum speed you can run at.
There is an asterisk to that one. Asterisk. I don't know. How do you say that? There's a footnote to that. Your frame rate will affect this. Which is something that will change in the future whenever we swap to using C++ to alter some of this. Your friction, because of the way friction is applied, you will never, ever reach max speed. It doesn't matter. Like, I can run this engine, like, optimally at 200 frames a second. Even at that high of a frame rate, I will never reach 7,000 units a second. I will hover at about... You'll hover at about 400 to 600 units lower than this. So if you want something up to a certain speed... add about 400 to 600 units to that, depending on like your frame rate. I'm saying this because it applies to Colorful Combat.
Yeah, no.
This here, it says I can reach 7,000. In reality, it's closer to like 6,500. Depending on the frame rate fluctuation, it could go down to like 64 to 6,600. So do not expect this to be 100% accurate. in the C++ test build that we have, this is actually accurate. Due to because it changes how friction is calculated, it also becomes detached from the frame rate, meaning you can actually reach that max speed, which will be the case in the future, just not as of right now.
Yeah, we're not at that step yet, but we're working towards it. It's just that moving to the system is a big deal, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, going on, max acceleration, just how quickly you accelerate, so the force you apply as you try to move yourself throughout the world. So the higher the acceleration, the more quickly you'll get up to speed. And once again, this is a little finicky because if your acceleration overrides your friction, you can get to the point where you decelerate so quickly that you can't slow down. So friction and acceleration are, in a sense, married. If you change one, you probably want to change the other one.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. Braking friction. So essentially, braking friction is like if you were to hold it in the opposite direction, braking friction is how much, it's like a certain multiplier. Just affect how quickly you try to slow down if you're trying to slow down in the opposite direction you are going. So yeah, it's just your brakes.
A good example is the difference between braking friction and friction. Say you're running at maximum speed. If you let go of movement, friction is what will slow you down. If you're running at maximum speed and then you press the opposite direction, braking friction is what will slow you down. Mixed with friction. Like it's a combination of both. But braking friction is what will primarily slow you down.
Yeah. Due to the nature of Sonic games being physics-based, these values kind of mingle a lot. So you have to keep... The problem with changing the physics a lot of times is that you have to keep one in mind when you're changing another one because they're all connected in some way or another. So next one is mass. Hopefully you've taken physics. Mass is just how much you weigh, essentially, and also how much momentum you'll carry with you also. So the more you weigh, like if you're taking physics, the actual definition of mass is just how hard it is to make you change your inertia or your direction you're going. So if you weigh more, it'll take you more to get going, but also it'll take more to stop you.
I wonder if Unreal also calculates gravity to that, because weight is mass times gravity.
Honestly,
welcome to your physics class, everybody.
I wonder if like Unreal actually takes that into account when I calculate.
I think so too, because I think the mass doesn't actually, because mass and weight are different things technically. Like they are essentially the same thing for us on Earth, but I think mass purely just affects like just
your mass doesn't change, but your gravity or your weight can, depending on your frame of reference in terms of gravity.
Yeah. So essentially, mass doesn't affect. Don't think of mass as what affects like how quickly you fall stuff. Mass in real life doesn't affect that. Mass in Unreal Engine doesn't affect that. Mass instead affects how easily you get pushed around or not. So if you were to decrease Sonic's mass, he would accelerate faster, but also he'll get pushed around more.
How much force is required to move an object based on gravity?
Yeah, essentially.
So. It's not as important because most of the characters aren't physics objects, but it is still important because you do have to apply force to move the character.
Yeah. It also applies to rolling. But anyway, braking deceleration. This one's a bit interesting. Braking deceleration is another force applied to you to slow you down, but it only applies if you're like not holding a direction. So think of it as braking deceleration as the passive braking force applied if you stop trying to accelerate Sonic.
Yeah.
So if this is at 0, Sonic won't really try to slow down if you stop moving. He will slow down naturally due to friction, but he won't really like this. This is what makes it so that he actually slows down like more and more as you let go of the direction.
Yeah, think of it as a modifier to the example I made earlier. If you're moving at max speed in one direction, letting go of the button or pressing the opposite direction will use braking friction. It will use your friction modified by your braking friction to slow you down. But if you accelerate and then you simply stop pressing the button, instead of using braking friction, it will use braking deceleration to alter modify your friction. Like it's friction plus braking friction if you're opposite direction, or friction plus braking deceleration if you simply let go.
Yeah, pretty much. So next is momentum multiplier. This is what I was mentioning earlier. Every frame, Sonic, when any of the characters move, their velocity is multiplied by this number right here. And this is what, in combination with the friction, is what can cause it to be finicky. For instance, if you if we were to decrease this number right here, Sonic is less likely to retain his momentum, hence the name momentum multiplier. This is just a number we decided to keep using to essentially make it so that the characters keep momentum as they move around. And friction counteracts that. So if you were to decrease friction, you probably want to decrease this number too. Because if you don't, this number is actually really volatile. If you don't decrease this number, but you decrease friction, Sonic will go flying. You can test it out yourself. I even thought about maybe making friction and momentum multiplier one number or something that's spread evenly so that it's less breakable. But just keep in mind, if you change friction, especially if you decrease momentum multiplier by some amount, you will get a feel for it eventually. But they're kind of volatile. So this is your momentum, essentially.
It may look like we just chose the funny number 420 as the number, and that was the case. We did actually choose the funny number, but it turns out that that's the exact number we needed to make this feel good.
Yeah. By the way, when we change our C++, we probably won't need this number anymore. Yeah, because the new C++ calculation doesn't need the same calculations, and it's smoother. So this stat right here is on death row.
Yeah. Braking, deceleration, falling. I don't actually know what this one does.
Well, lateral friction falling and braking, deceleration, falling are actually like a bit weird to explain, but essentially these are only applied to you while you're. The rest of the stats are only applied to you while you're in a falling state, i.e., when you're not on the ground. Yeah. So, and by the way, these all reference, except for momentum multiplier, these all reference Unreal Engine like physics stuff. So I just changed the name of them so that they're hopefully more understandable. But
if you're familiar with Unreal Engine, this character movement component, a lot of this stuff is altering the information inside the character movement component. It's been slightly renamed to make more sense in some instances, but a lot of this information is altering this. It's like if I opened up that, I'm not going to because then I'd have to refine this, but character movement contains a lot of this information such as gravity, friction, max speed, and stuff like that. But we set it up in this easy to find physics data for a specific reason. We set it up in a structure for a very specific reason, which we'll be going into next. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's not fine. So essentially, as far as I remember it, braking, deceleration, falling is very similar to braking, deceleration on the ground. Essentially, just how quickly you slow down if you're not holding a direction. It's, obviously it's a very different number because it applies a different scaling. But if you increase this number, Sonic will slow down more quickly while he's in the air if you're not holding a direction. Mm-hmm. So it's like your passive slowdown number, essentially, while you're in the air. That's why it says falling. This only applies to you while you're in the air. And lateral friction falling is similar, except that it's close to braking friction, meaning that this is what is applied to you when you're not holding it. The tooltip says something different, just ignore it. I messed that up. But essentially, lateral friction falling is how quickly you slow down if you're holding the opposite direction, essentially.
Air control is kind of like, it's kind of like acceleration, but for midair, like how much force is applied to the character when you're moving in midair.
Yeah.
And terminal velocity, like we said earlier, is how fast you can fall. Go ahead.
Yeah, essentially. A little context for air control. 1 means you pretty much have full control where in the air. Normally in any other platform, that's what it means. If you decrease that number, 0 means you have no air control in the air, meaning you can't influence your character's direction while in the air unless you have some code that does that. And any number between 0 and 1 gives you a multiplier of that. So we have it at 1 because we essentially have full control of the characters while we're in the air because, it will suck if you couldn't.
You have full
in Castlevania.
You have full control, but rather than the difficulty of mid-air control being from how much control you have, it's how much the friction, how much you have to fight against the friction.
Yeah, because
that's where the difficulty comes from. Like fighting against momentum and friction is what makes mid-air control more difficult, not how much control you actually have.
Yeah, air control doesn't affect how quickly you'll turn on a dime. It just affects essentially how hard the character is trying to actually influence his direction while in the air.
Terminal velocity it's not the same as gravity. Gravity is how quickly it pulls you down from an apex. Like if you walked down, how fast you will reach terminal velocity is what gravity does. So if gravity was 1 and say I walked off a really tall ledge and I was falling, it would take much longer for me to reach terminal velocity than if gravity was like 5. If I walked off the edge with a gravity of 5, I would reach terminal velocity much faster. It does not change how fast you actually can fall at maximum speed, though. That's what terminal velocity does. Essentially, like, if gravity was 1 and terminal velocity was 500, gravity would be like, okay, I'm pulling you down at this rate. However, the maximum speed in which you can fall is 500. It's basically like, how long does it take to go from 0 to 500 while falling? If gravity was higher, being like 5, that number is going to be a lot quicker. Like, hey, you reach maximum or terminal velocity much, much faster.
Yeah. Another quick thing. Click on the character movement component for the character, just so we get more context. This will be quick, I swear. All these settings we just talked about influence pretty much any number of these settings that are in this thing here, except for the momentum multiplier. So, and a little quick tip, because not all these variables are in the physics structure stuff that you affect, but if you want to know what you want to modify, don't modify walking. We don't have a walking character movement state at all. Instead, you want to affect jumping, falling if you're in the air, and you want to affect the flying state, funnily enough, if you're walking on the ground. Because, fun fact, when you're walking on the ground as any of the Sonic characters, you're technically in a flying state. What the code kind of sticks you to the ground. So you're technically flying all the time when you're on the ground, and when you're in the air, you're falling.
The reason that is like, if you see right here, default land movement, we could change it to walking, but the problem with that is, and like whenever I said earlier that we tried altering stuff from Oban's code and it didn't work, that's because we tried to recreate a new master character based on the fact that it was a walking character, not a flying character, because this was giving us some issues on certain things that we managed to actually get past. If you're in a walking state, turns out there are a lot of limitations you can do with rotation.
You can't go up and down all around.
Yeah. There is a maximum rotation gimbal lock that you can reach if your character is in a walking state. Meaning shuttle loops was not an option. Meaning we couldn't go into a walking state. So all the characters are in a flying state. And essentially any time that they are recognized to have been in midair and not attached to the ground, essentially the engine is going to force gravity on the character to try and fall. Because
and put them in a falling state.
Yeah, the character, the only two states that they're ever going to be in is flying and falling. They should never really be in swimming or nav mesh or walking. They're just going to be in a flying state or in a falling state. Even if they're on the ground, they're technically considered flying, but the only thing that's keeping them on the ground is the character snapping code that traces below the character, finds something to attach to, and then pulls the character onto it. So that's basically why we have the character snapping code, as well as the character rotation code. It has to rotate the character based on the ground that you're standing on.
Yeah. So, quick little fun fact. So these are the pretty much the basics of how the characters are set up. But now we have to go into how you can modify all of this. So I think for the sake of simplicity, let's just go to the event graph and let's just go over
which event graph?
Stuff.
The master character event graph?
Yeah, because I'm just going to quickly bring out the functions. So, I would I would recommend type in maybe modify, or type in ref for reference, and then max speed. Yeah, so get that, and then also right click, do the same thing for ability. So ability max speed. No, not ref ability. Just get ability max speed. Sorry, or get final. I think.
Yeah, get final max speed.
Okay. So, I really quickly, there should be something called get physics structure.
Get physics data.
Yeah, I think that's it. Click on it. All right. So let's explain. As Dick was saying, there are tiers to this. So the way we figured we would take care of the physics in this framework was to make it so that there's a tier system of what gets overridden, because what sucks is having to keep track of your variables while you're doing an ability while also underwater while playing the tuba as Sonic.
This is going to require some explanation. Let's say that you're playing here as Sonic. I hit the play button and everything needed compiling, so that was a bad idea. So here's the thing. Setting character abilities, setting character physics is not simple. It's not easy. And what I mean by not easy, I don't mean like, oh, it's a difficult process to do. What I mean is it's a difficult process to think about and execute. Because Sonic here... You can see I'm falling slower because my terminal velocity is low. Sonic here is on land. He is not on a grind rail. He's not standing on ice. He's not underwater. And he's not falling. He's also not doing an ability. So certain abilities set certain things. So for example, if I flew up here and then I did a stomp, that doesn't make sense. Why did I fall so fast while doing a stomp? My terminal velocity is super, super low. I am falling really, really slowly right now. But in order to do a stomp, that means I gotta fall very quickly. Well, that means the stomp has modified my physics. But I don't want it to stay that way. I only want it to do it while I'm doing the stomp ability. Well, then we modify that as an ability. But then let's go underwater. Well, terminal velocity has changed underwater because water has a different type of terminal velocity. You fall slower underwater, like gravity is slightly different. But I still want to be able to stomp underwater. How does that apply? At what rate do you apply the stomp terminal velocity and the stomp gravity? Or say you're in a skydiving volume, or if you're on a grind rail. See, there's a lot of tiers and a lot of levels that you have to think about, like what takes priority and when, and what overrides what, and what goes back to default.
And this is not just like Infinity. This is technically like something you have to think about with a lot of games that involves physics or any overlapping systems where a number has to change a lot and has overlapping tiers of change, essentially. So if you ever want to work on games, there's not really any sort of complex system. This is something to keep note of.
Yeah, it's the fact that the what's the word I'm looking for? Your physics is context central. Context sensitive.
Context
sensual.
Yeah. Your physics is context sensitive. You have different physics when you're jumping on a spring and the spring is pulling you across wherever. You have different physics whenever you're underwater, whenever you're in a skydive volume, whenever you're on the rails.
Homing attacking, rolling, boosting.
Yeah. You have so many different physics states. But let's say like you can boost while on land, and you can boost while on water or underwater, and you can boost while on a rail, but you can't boost while skydiving. So obviously you would want to deactivate the boost for that, but the boost interacts differently in all three of those situations. So what we did is we have separated your physics into different tiers. There is your state, what state you're in, which is standing. I think the three states we have are standing, skydiving, and rail grinding. Water might be
actually standing, skydiving, rail grinding, and rolling.
Rolling, yeah. Rolling is the other physics volume, because like rolling completely alters your physics. You have a completely separate set of physics for rolling. There is your state, which is like underwater, not underwater, and I think there could be other states like standing on ice or something like that.
Yeah, they're your actually, sorry, I don't want yeah, as Fizz says, there's your different like
your state
contexts.
Yeah,
you have your so let me just redo it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So your state is like if you're rolling, skydiving, rail grinding, and normal. Like there's 4 of them, and we preset them. If you press 2 really quickly to show the physics thing, right now you're in your default state. If you were to start rolling, Sonic will start rolling, and you'll be in a rolling state. You see the little top thing change to rolling when he starts rolling.
Like my terminal velocity also changed, so I started falling faster.
Yeah. So that's just an instance of that. And physics states are physics states we determined, and we decided to make 4. Like I said, rolling, default, rolling, skydiving, as you see here, and rail grinding. Now, on top of that, we created 2 like also extra ones. Those are called 1 and 2, which you can access. These are just like if you.
I thought we created 3.
I think we made one of them rail grinding or something.
So you can see there's a rail.
Yeah. So these are, and the reason why we create these physics states is because we were like, okay, we realized that pretty much these 4 states never overlap. you can never be in a default state while you're in a skydiving state. You can't be in a skydiving state while you're on a rail, vice versa, and stuff like that. You can only be one at a time. They don't overlap at all. So we separated them for our own sanity.
If you like, there's also like checks inside of each thing, like grind rails rolling and skydiving volumes. Like if you're in a grind rail and you overlap with a skydiving volume, the skydiving volume should not overtake that. If you're rolling and you overlap with a skydiving volume, you should exit your rolling state and go into a skydiving state. And you cannot reactivate your rolling while skydiving. At least you shouldn't be able to. We may have to double check our gates.
Yeah, but they should not, and they're not intended to. If they do, let us know because we have to fix it.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so we did that, and then from there, as you can see, we have gravity. But gravity, let's look at gravity. You see, there's a big number to the left and the right, but there's two small numbers. The reason what we did is that we came up with two other sort of modifiers, as you could say. There's your reference modifier and your ability/final modifier. Your reference modifier is supposed to be big changes to your terrain for the most part, which in this case would be being in water. Like if you go into water, your physics will change slightly.
So you see the number on the left side, like the 1 over -1. That is what's being changed while underwater.
Yeah, so you see his gravity has changed to 1, and there's some other numbers changing too, but let's look at gravity. When you're underwater, gravity changes. But if you're in a rolling state and you go into water, some numbers will change too, but maybe slightly different. And that's because essentially what we wanted to do is make so that a reference modifier will like apply just certain values, multiply, divide, override, stuff like that, to your base modifiers. So technically, if you wanted to, you can make so that if you're skydiving underwater, you will have different physics than if you're skydiving in the air.
Yeah, same thing with real grinding underwater. Like you'll have slightly different physics.
Yeah, and we'll get into how you change these modifiers later. But essentially, the idea here, let's just go with the concept, is that these overlap. You're rolling or you're not rolling underwater, and we want them to overlap so that if you're the game recognizes, hey, you're rolling underwater, let's apply a modifier. Hey, you're walking underwater, let's apply the same modifier. And let's say we just multiply your gravity times 3 if you're underwater. But let's say your gravity is 3.5 normally, or rolling. While rolling is 1. It will give you a different gravity every time, depending on if you're underwater or not. So they mesh, essentially. I'll just keep it at that. They mesh, and while you're underwater, it matches with your default physics to make some sort of weird concoction of physics that is now your problem to deal with.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm not saying it's exactly easy to keep track of, but it's definitely easier than doing it yourself and having to override it multiple times, depending on if you're underwater or rolling, stuff like that. That was a huge pain. So this does it automatically, depending on if you're underwater or not.
Yeah. So I guess to help make a little bit more sense. To look at gravity again, we have gravity 3.5, and then we have 3.5 over 1, and then we have 3.5 over 1, and then at the very right we have 3.5. The one on the left is, like Emmanuel was saying, your reference. If anything changes your reference, it will change both numbers. Like the left is your reference. That is your starting number for the reference, which outside of water, your default starting reference is whatever the default physics state is going to be. So if I change, you can see the default physics state has changed from gravity was 3.5, but while rolling, it's 3. So it's 3 over 1 or 3.5 over 1. However, if I walk underwater, you can now see it's 1 over -1. It went from an exclamation point to a minus. That
actually, it's an arrow.
Well, it's an arrow. But like that explanation point does change depending on what is happening to your ability, like to your physics. If your physics is being set, I think an arrow means it's being set. If it's just a line, that means it's minus, meaning it's whatever it was minus the number. If it's an asterisk, it's multiply. If it's a dash, it's divide. Or if it's not changed at all, that means it's null, which means it's just going back to what it was beforehand.
Yeah, it means it's not changing it.
Yeah. The reason I mention that is because the number on the right side, like there's the left 3.5 over 1, but there's also the right 3.5 over 1. And the right column of things is what we'll be getting into next, which are the ability references.
Yes. So, as you said, these are the ability references. These are supposed to be sort of like the final sort of a modifier you apply when you do an ability or some sort of, usually they're supposed to be temporary, some sort of temporary change you're making to your physics. So, for instance, if Sonic stomps, his gravity is now set, because it's the arrow, to 1,500. Cool, right? So, it's set a little differently. But if you were to stomp into water, it will change. So let's go facilitate that. So I'm talking like a physicist now because A, I've been watching too much Breaking Bad, and B, we're talking about physics. So one thing you'll note here is that this is a case where the water doesn't affect his stomp. He still his gravity is still the same.
My terminal velocity is different, however.
Yeah, we'll get to that later, but we're focused on gravity.
Yeah.
So what we decided is, for gameplay reasons, that while you're stomping, your gravity, while you're stomping or underwater, won't change at all. So what we did is that we set it so that for your gravity, stomping sets, meaning it like just sets it directly in your ability table there to 1,500. What this means is that even if your reference gravity is like 1 or 10 or whatever, it doesn't matter. The ability overrides it completely. So think of that as a complete override, which you can do with the physics system. Mm-hmm. So if you, for instance, want your friction to be 20 when you're underwater, if you want your friction to be 20 while you're boosting, no matter what, even you're underwater, running on fire, on ice, or watching Halo, who cares? You can just set it and it'll be that no matter what. But we also said so it could be these modifiers can be multiplications of the previous number, additions of the previous number, divisions of the previous number. So what that means is that if you said, oh, while I'm boosting, I want to multiply my speed by 20. Okay, let's say your speed is just 1. So 1 times 20 is 20, your final speed is now 20. Congratulations. And that's your ability modifier. That's your last modifier.
I think a great example of this is actually boosting. So we see max acceleration here. It's got a
go ahead.
2,000 over 750 and then a 2,000 over 0. Whenever I boost, you can see that... Oh, I gotta refill my energy. You see, that becomes 7,200 over times 3.6. Meaning my acceleration is being modified, but it's not being set, and it's not being subtracted, it's being multiplied. My maximum speed, or my max acceleration, has now been multiplied. It is being multiplied by 3.6. As soon as I get out of this... God damn it. You'll see that it actually changes whenever I go underwater. Because boosting is also considered an ability. We actually call it the ability reference because ability references are just meant to be used for abilities. They're very short things. So if I boost while underwater, you can see it's actually now 3,000 times 4. Because the left side has changed. It's now 750 over 750. And my max acceleration has been changed because of it. So outside of water, it's 2,000 over 750. Underwater, it's 750 over 750. And now instead of having 750 as a reference, instead of having 2,000 as a reference, it's now 750. Now whenever I multiply the boost modifier, I am now multiplying by times 4 instead of 3.5.
Yes, so that means you accelerate slower while underwater than while on land because your boosting is multiplying your acceleration, and your acceleration is also being modified by your water. And we wanted it that way. That's why we set it that way. I could have just set your acceleration to be 3,000 and just left that at that, but I was like, it would be cooler if it was changed by your water. So we changed it. So that's how that works. Now, I guess maybe a quick little overview is in order. So maybe exit out so no one's being too distracted after you kill the crap out of this motherfucker.
You did. All right. That was a lot to go over, but it's also super important. And
if you have questions, we're more than willing to try to explain it to the best of our ability because we know it's complicated and we made ourselves. So,
But it is also super vital to understand in order to make changes that you want to make changes to.
Yeah. So go back to the master character real quick, and I'll just try to summarize it real bit.
Go back to what?
The master character. To that little. So So we have reference, final, and get physics. Actually, if you can get the set versions of all these? So can you get set reference max speed? I think it's there somewhere.
Set max speed ref.
Yeah. So get the ability version of that.
Where is the ability?
I tried max SPD. I need to
set max speed ability.
I need to make their names consistent. That's on me. Sorry. So let's just keep it at that for now. So and place the get physics data on top of that because I'm trying to make a visual example. Yeah. Like just place it on top of all of them.
Like here.
Like make it so that like it's like physically like over them in the space, so that one is on top of the other, kind of like a filter. Or sorry, take the sets that I just had you spawn in and place them, like move them underneath to get reference data. Okay. Yeah, that's what I mean. Sorry. Okay, so visually, think of it like this. You have your base structures, which we spent the earlier part talking about. Fizz can maybe bring them up again. We have like your base gravity, your base friction, stuff like that. These are like your base defaults, whatever. So, and think of it kind of like a filter. So then from there, we multiply, divide, set, whatever. There's chains by your reference modifier, which is you can use by using set, max speed, set, friction, set, acceleration. As long as there's a REF in it, it means you're setting your reference modifier.
Can you get a max? Wait, is the final speed? Like, is there like a get max speed ability, like get ref max speed ability?
Sorry, this is on me. Final and max speed are the same.
Okay.
I mean, sorry, so like, final and ability are the same because the final is like the final output where you're going to get.
Okay. So like there is this here, the defaults. There is your reference. So if like you're underwater or something like that, and then there is the final, which is applied after this. So I guess to make more sense, if you're calculating something, it's this here modified by this, and then this here is the final one.
Yeah, that's your final output, which is why I refer to as final. I guess I should have made them both the same thing, but y'all can complain to me about it later if you have any questions.
If you modify this here, this is what's going to be it. Like you're going to modify whatever you set this to be, it will be this here. Whatever you set this to be is what this here will be. And then whatever you set here is just going to be here.
Yeah, and that's your default. And I guess to simplify this even further, because I feel like I should spend too much on this, and I just need to get the TLDR. If you're just tuning in, this is all you need to know. If you want to have an ability that changes some physics stuff, do set blank whatever physics you want ability. So if let's say we want to change the terminal velocity.
Term veloc ability.
Yes. What you want to do, how this works is that
set friction, or like you're gonna want to do the ability. If it's for the purpose of an ability, then you want to make sure you use ability. If you want to create something similar to water, let's say you want to make a magma version of water where you can go under magma and survive, except for magma has a higher viscosity than water, so your physics are going to be different, meaning you're going to want to set your reference rather than your ability, because you're not using an ability, you're inside of a volume. You're in something that is changing the physics of your current state.
Yes. It changes your frame of reference in terms of physics, hence reference. So, but for the most part, most people don't do that, so I'm not going to focus on that actually.
Yeah.
But let's just, for the abilities, how you want to think of it is that, think of it like an equation. Either you're going to multiply, add, subtract, or set, or whatever. That's controlled by that little enum there. So add, subtract, multiply, whatever. That will apply an operation, if you remember your maths. That will apply an operation, and then the value, the float, is the number you want to change it by. So if it's null and you set it to 69, the best number in the world, nothing will happen. Nothing will change. But if you set it to multiply, it will multiply whatever comes before it in the grand equation that everyone hates. It will multiply. Let's say your max speed by default is 2,000. It'll multiply that by 69, and you'll get a number I'm not going to think of right now.
So like, say like max speed by default is 7,000. However, the ability ref underwater sets your max speed to, like, let's say it will just simply, or it will divide your current speed by 0.6. So it will take max speed underwater, like if you're underwater, it'll take max speed divided by 0.6. And then it will be like, oh, well, whenever you're underwater, your max speed will be divided by 0.6. However, let's say you use an ability, and then it'll be max speed divided by 0.6 multiplied by 69. However, if you weren't underwater, it would just be max speed multiplied by 69 because you were now using the default reference, which is walking, or if you were rolling, you would change that there.
Yes. So essentially, yeah, that's how it works. But if you just want to change, if for the most part people do abilities, if you just want to do an ability, just get the ability function that corresponds to your physics, and then choose a value you want to change it by, and then choose the operation you want to do. Because hopefully you can understand what the operations do. And this is very important. Click on the modify physics button. What this will do is this will actually, in real time, as soon as this happens, apply this physics change to the character. If you don't do this, it will change like that little debug thing we have, but won't change the character's physics. And this is just so that you get more control over it, because I imagine you have some cases where you want to change the physics and then do some more stuff before you actually apply it. This is what does that. You can also call a function, if you right click and type modify physics. Yeah, just for any of them.
It's max speed.
Yeah, you can also just call that, and that will
this will change this here.
No, that will sorry, that won't change that. That will just apply directly to the character. Like it will bypass most of that, and will just set your physics to whatever that is. I wouldn't recommend doing it, but if you really need to, you have that. Actually, double click on set max speed ability. That one, and you see where that red thing is going. See how that red boolean. See where that's going. Yeah. So I'm just showing you, so it's like the people watching don't have to worry. But like that is what that actually changes. That's just calling that, and that bypasses all the calculation stuff. That just applies it directly. But if you do that, that will mess up the calculations, and I will somehow know and be very upset. So don't do it. I will I'll just be really upset. Please don't. I'll be sad.
But yeah. And one reason you may not want to modify physics is because it does actually output this variable, meaning you may want to know what that information is.
Yeah.
Like, say, your max speed, like if you're in the situation and you're like, I want to set the max speed, but only if doing so would go above or below a certain threshold. Well, you can take your current max speed, multiply it by your ability max speed, output it, track it, and once it becomes a certain thing, then you can be like, okay, now I want to modify it. So there's a good reason why you may want to do that.
And see how if you ever decide to use the modify physics thing, which I told you not to use, if you become savvy enough and do want to use it, see how it has a little notes section that's in pink? That's so that it prints out stuff. That's very useful. Trust me, you will want that if you ever get in that deep in a rabbit hole. But call me before you get to that point, please.
Turning this on will print it. Without this on, it won't print.
Yeah, you have to turn that on. Anyway, TLDR, set blank ability will change the physics, and you are golden. If you really want to for this, we can go to the boost function and just show off how we actually use it.
I feel like the stomp might be a little bit better.
Okay, stomp is good. It's inside a function, if I remember correctly.
Yes, stomp. And then the one last thing we should probably go over related to physics. Oh, by the way, if you want to change these, like I said earlier, you're going to want to do it here in the glass defaults. I guess we're going to do it. And you're going to want to change the physics defaults. There's also like ice data, which I'm not sure what all that is all about.
That's just ignore that.
There's also the like these here, like there's the rolling, the skydive, and the rail physics data. I think if you change these here, that's like that'll change during those states. If I remember right. So if you want to change your gravity during rolling, you're going to go down to temp physics structs, which that's not what it's going to be called. It's going to be placed somewhere else. You're going to want to change like this one here. Change your gravity while you're rolling. Change your gravity while you're skydiving. Change your gravity while you're rail grinding. You know, not that that would be really important, but whatever.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure you were clear. That's where you would change those things if you want to change the defaults.
Yeah, the defaults.
All right, so right here, set ability gravity. We have stomp gravity set as a variable. 1500. We are setting it as an ability because the stomping is an ability. It's not a state. You're not going to be in it all year. You're going to be in it until you land. And you also you could do it in water or on land or down a toilet. I don't care. But it's something you want to activate and deactivate. So we're going to set your gravity and you're going to set your terminal velocity. We're going to plug in a variable being these pre-made variables we created. And then we are setting them directly. We're not adding, we're not multiplying, we're not dividing. We are setting them. If you wanted to change that, you could. You could change it to where like maybe your gravity, instead of being a set high number, maybe it's a small number and you multiply it. Like, oh, take your current gravity and you multiply it by a set number, making it higher than what it is, but now that's your new gravity. So that's like a different way you could possibly do it. But yeah, this is how we would do it.
Yes, and you may say, if someone's a keen observer, you may say, oh, you're breaking your rules with terminal velocity, because it is actually checking to see if we're underwater. No is no's underwater, and it's actually setting a different terminal velocity if you're underwater or not. That is actually a gameplay design decision. I made it so that if you start the stomp while underwater, it is different than if you start the stomp while above water. Because you're above water and then you hit the water, it will actually not change. So that's a gameplay design decision for stomp specifically, but you don't have to do it that way. You could make it a multiplier. That was just something I decided to make it just for gameplay design reasons. And
so
quickly,
you made that choice deliberately.
Yeah.
Okay.
I made that choice deliberately to bypass it, or not bypass it, but just make it very explicit. You may want to really quickly show how you set it to null, or
that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to remember where I did that. If I remember right, I think it's just.
I think it's a landed event.
Yeah, event land. Inside of here, we have like finish stomp, which is right here. We can see we set our gravity, which are abilities we set here. We set ability gravity, and ability terminal velocity, and then here we set it again, ability gravity terminal velocity. Only this time we're setting it to null, meaning we are changing it back to what it was before we were using the ability.
Yeah, or essentially you can think of it as null means it won't do anything. So it won't apply anything. It will just let bygones be bygones. It won't affect the equation. So null can affect ability or reference. So if you, for the most part, all the reference stuff is null because for the most part you're not in a reference volume unless you go underwater or touch ice or touch grass if you're maidenless. So pretty much that. And that's that was in a ramshackle way essentially how that works. I'm sorry that it's complicated, but Sonic is complicated and we tried to simplify it.
One last thing that we do need to go over is in case someone decides to do this. This is in here. Okay, so we also have a set physics state. So if you create a new physics state, we do have 3 physics states.
Oh, you're right. I'm a liar. I'm sorry. So
the default one, that's while you're walking. The skydiving one, that's while you're skydiving. Rolling, rail on a grand rail. But we have 3 different ones as well, 1, 2, and 3. You can go into the enum that we have these in, and you can rename them if you want. If you want to create, or like if you want to create them, obviously you would do so. I don't know where you would actually go to create that. I think you have to create. You have to create an all new structure. I think is what.
I think the structure is actually already being referenced. If you double click on set physics state, you'll see. Oh,
great.
Never mind. If you double click on get reference physics struct real quick, that little get right there that's feeding into that, the little. Click on just one of those. And then click on that little blue one to the left, the one that's saying get base physics structures.
Yeah.
Yeah, double click. Just go to the bottom.
Okay, yeah.
You see, like, that's like what, yeah. So they do exist. It's a structure.
Gravity struck, yeah.
Yeah. Like, honestly, if you really want to go into this and change it, I wouldn't recommend it because you have to change a bunch of stuff. Yeah. So,
you can actually kind of see how it works here. Like there's like get base physics structure, get base physics structures, and it goes through here, calculates all the things depending on your enum that you have selected here, because that's a switch on enum, and then it outputs, and then it goes through another one. This isn't the one I think it goes through. I think it goes through one more, but I could be wrong. But it's a very simple thing. If you want to change your physics structure, obviously you would just call this state physics or set physics state, and it would change.
Yes. Keep in mind that this won't actually change your physics in game, though. You didn't have to call it modify physics.
Yeah.
Afterwards, this is one case where I would say break the rule, because if you're changing your state, you probably just want to, without any abilities, you will probably, this is the way I would do it. Screenshot this in your mind. Just call modify physics. This will get all your physics, and you feed a structure in this. In this case, I will just get reference physics structure and just feed it into it.
Let's say
this will change all the physics that we care about.
Say, for example, you have a supersonic state that you want to have where you can fly around. Like, you have completely separate physics and everything because maybe it's your final level, your doomsday zone, whatever. You're not going to be using the other physics states, but maybe you could have it in space with water bubbles you can fly through and grind rails or something, I don't know. But you would want to create one, like maybe rename it to whatever it is you want. You're going to want to set all the data, you're going to want it, and then you're going to do, like Emmanuel said, changing your entire physics state. You're going to set this, that way this is, the reference has been changed, and then you're going to actually change all of the physics. And this here will update, by simply changing this here and then calling this, it will automatically update to what you want because it's going to look for this variable that you're setting and then change it based on what this variable is. So always call this one first and then call this one.
Yeah. Also, a little fun fact, for supersonic, we break a rule slightly. It's not like what we do is that we modify these structures directly, like the base structures. We like multiply and divide as we see fit, because I figure it'll be easier to do it that way than to see as a reference or a modifier. So it is a breaking rule too. So I break my rules, but I made the rule. So get off my back, please. My back hurts.
That is a lot of basic stuff you're going to want to know. I don't think there's anything else in terms of like basic physics. Like I said, you want to change the default variables for all characters, do the master, and make sure, if you do change the master, make sure they're not being overridden into children. Like if I decided, if I decide I want all the characters to have a maximum speed of 9,000, you will have to go into like the speed and flight parent and make sure that it's not being overridden already.
Yeah.
So you're going to want to like just reset the default if you haven't already. That's something you're going to want to make sure you do. So yeah, that's pretty much the basics. Basics. This is the basics of this shit.
Yes. Trust, we're doing this for your own good. This is more complicated if you don't have a system in place already. Obviously, any system has its limitations. R does too. Like, there's only reference, and there's not like 20 billion. Mm-hmm. But this will take care of most things you need to do. And of course, if you use some cleverness and maybe ask us some things or one thing or another, we can tell you how to use the system to do whatever you want. But for the most part, this should take care of whatever you'll need. Mostly, you just need the ability functions. That will, because most people do abilities. That will take care of most things you want to do. Mm-hmm. And yeah, just most importantly, if you get confused, maybe try to parse what we said before. If not, just ask us. Fizz actually has a good idea how it works. Reese has a pretty good idea how it works. I made it, so I have the best idea how it works. What?
Like, do I have a good idea how that works?
You used it once. I'm pretty sure you used it once or twice before.
I barely have an idea on how it fucking works.
Oh yeah. Just talk to one of us. If it gets that bad, I'll try to help you directly if you need to know. But normally it's not that bad. Most people just want to make the boost faster or make Blaze double jump or something. And sometimes you don't want to do physics stuff. Sometimes you want to just set someone's velocity directly. In that case, just set their velocity. Someone in Unreal will tell you how to do that.
Yeah.
In that case, F physics. Also, little fun tip: if you ever just like want to do a flying state or just set someone's velocity and not have gravity affect them, set the gravity to 0, using the physics system preferably. Because, for instance, if you're homing attacking, gravity is 0 because gravity will keep trying to pull you down. So keep that kind of stuff in mind. I think that covers that. I am kind of a bit. Luckily, I think I have a bit more leeway with the thing I have to do, but I should probably go and do it. I'll try to be back when I can, but that took a bit. But I'm glad I did it again.
Yeah, now people know how to fucking use it.
No,
it's like it's one of those things that are integral to customizing the engine. We'll probably go over it again in the future because we're not planning on making any major modifications to it, but we are planning on cleaning it up, making it look a little bit nicer in some instances. At least to my knowledge, we're not planning on making modifications.
I'm not. I thought about maybe adding a second ability so you have 2 abilities, but it's like that's not really worth it to change all of it. You could just code more wisely.
Yeah.
So I think it'll stay as is. If I ever work on another fan game that ports from this or another engine, I'll probably just keep using the system because I actually do like it.
All right. Well, if that's the case, I think, assuming unless Reese wants to fucking pass out, are you wanting to go over some HUD stuff, Reese?
I can go over a little bit, but I don't know if I'm going to really be able to fully answer the one and only question.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I'll try to be back, but toodaloo, guys. Have fun.
See ya.
There we go.
See ya.
When it comes to changing the HUD, particularly, there are some major chunks of code that each HUD shares, but I tend to make each HUD individual in like its own widget, and I use a widget switcher for like each theme I've done so far. But for like purely just customizing the HUD, I would say the best course of action at the moment is to duplicate the HUD that's already existing in the project, and then just change the assets around that you need and such, because I don't know if like you need extra information added to the HUD or if you need just the look of the HUD to change. The look of the HUD to change is easy enough. That's just like swapping textures around and stuff and moving assets that you need when and where. But if you're wanting to add like extra information, I would suggest just looking up general like Unreal Engine HUD tutorials and like how you would go about referencing certain things to get implemented into a HUD.
Is this W_game HUD, is that that's like the master HUD, right?
If I'm remembering correctly,
it's what sets all of the other HUD elements and all of the like information and stuff.
Essentially, yeah, it's essentially what houses the master widget switcher that every HUD is attached to.
Which, if like this here got like HUD_hero, there's like the boost heroes, which is like this boost bar, and it's a boost styled or hero style boost bar. You also got like the hero life counter, which
that is also the other thing as well. It's like the way we've got our HUD set up at the moment, it's very modularized because of us doing our HUD themes and stuff, like our menu and game themes. For somebody who's not wanting any of that stuff at all, a lot of the stuff in the HUD is redundant, essentially. There's a lot of code you can just gut out, and it wouldn't affect anything.
So there's like the hero's boost, hero's life, and the hero's ring score time. Those are like individual blueprints, but they're all set with the game HUD. Or they're all collected like, into the hero's HUD, but then the game HUD is what decides which HUD to use.
Yeah. It selects which element of each type depending on the theme selected. So essentially, for an end user, it's not too necessary to know. Like, it's not a huge thing to know.
I do apologize. I really got to use the restroom, so I'm going to be back in like 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
Yep.
Yeah, if I was to... When it comes to the HUD stuff, like I said, it mainly would just boil down to looking up usual Unreal HUD tutorials online from like many people that have done videos on it online. If you're wanting to remove a bunch of the fluff code, I think eventually I will probably work on a video separately showing what exactly is definitely required and what is just extra code that we added in for the menu switching. What could I say? What other HUD related issues have we had before? Because obviously you had the question of customizing the HUD, which, like I said, it practically just comes down to just knowing default Unreal Engine tutorials and how widget blueprints work. What else is about the HUD? There's a lot of extra elements which are not required. Menu stuff. There is menu stuff. Something I've seen people ask before is customizing the main menu, which is possible. I mean, anything's possible with the widgets and stuff. But I essentially have built the menus with controller in mind. So the way the menu is set out, it's a square, and you press like right, down, up, and left, and like you have the whole range of movement. Some people may just want like a menu in a list, and some people may want a menu like horizontally and stuff. The way I've indexed each box and option is done in a mathematical way for where it will like add 2 depending on if you're pressing up and down, or add 1 if you're going left and right and stuff. You have to change a lot of that. So essentially reworking the main menu is kind of a just rebuild essentially of the menu. You would look through the menu widget, of course, and you would see like what each option is doing. For every widget, I have tried to condense everything down into a single branch of where you do an input, and then like the HUD will take the input and then pass it on to the currently active widget, and then the currently active sub widget of that if necessary, and it kind of just trickles down until you eventually get to the menu that you're currently on. It should be easy to track down like any inputs that you are needing to change for any like new custom menus or such, or if you're just wanting to change what they do in general. If you give me just a 2-minute, guys, I will try and open up the project myself and just take a quick little look-see. If there is anything else specifically, if anybody else is still here who is wanting to ask a question about the HUD. Right, let's see. Let's read the comments here. Later, you guys go over a little move line thing. The auto movement. Ah, yes, that is something they should probably go over. Oh, I finally did it. Engine takes forever to open up. Okay, so I'm guessing you're still here. Let me take a little look-see here. What's the comment you just sent? So if my game has no boost, I can just mass delete the boost HUD and stuff. If you don't want the boost, I think there is just a toggle you turn off in the character blueprint, and it should tell the HUD not to display. Let me go to widgets. Where is it? It's a HUD item tray, HUD text, HUD, game HUD. Right. I'm just opening it up on my end as well. So let's say this one here. How does this add in the boost bar? Find references. Heroes boost, that's outdated. That's outdated. That's outdated. Okay, here we go. Update character widget. Find references. It's been a while since I've looked at this code, so if you guys can just give me 2 minutes, I'll be right with you. So that's going to be in every HUD. So it's going to be this here. Character widget setup. Okay, well, I can see it's not set up in that way. And I thought we did set it up like that, but that's a good catch. I can work on improving that later. But essentially, the best way you can do it is there's definitely an option in the character blueprint to turn the boost off. And then if you want to get rid of the boost bar, in the character blueprint, so I'm just going to quickly go and open up Sonic. Sonic, BP Sonic. You guys won't be able to see what I'm doing, obviously. Character. I think if I just type in character, win. Yes. Okay. I haven't tested 100% for if there is going to be an error that will pop up, and I can't really check because I'm on like a development version of the framework at the moment. But if you go to the example of like BP Sonic, and then in the details panel, type in character widget, there should be in the important section a variable called character widget. Clear that, and then nothing should show up in the HUD. It might throw out an error. I don't know, because of also if you turn the boost off in the character.
Hey. Alright, I'm sorry. I am back. I'm sorry.
Oh, hello.
Hey.
Where's the boost like option?
It's in the speed parent.
Is it just boost enabled?
Yeah, you can, like, if you want absolutely no one to have the boost at all, what you can do is go to the action graph, scroll over and just disable this here. Like, just boop, like that. There, nobody has any boost now. Because this custom event call here, this boost speed call, is inside of a function called action call, I believe. Let's see. There's special call or action call. It should be called action call. Yeah, it's a special call. Where is the action call?
So essentially what I've just mentioned, Fizz, is like...
Here we go.
Mainly, all I can really offer for advice at the moment is you have to really look up how to do widgets in Unreal to begin with. If they want to change like the aesthetics of the HUD.
Yeah.
But then like adding in extra like information to a HUD is a separate task entirely.
Yeah. Because you gotta like, because we go into the HUD blueprint here. You can see. Oh, where is it that it gathers like information from the character? Is that in like the HUD master?
Specifically, what information would
It's
you
like
want, for example?
Rings, speed, like movement speed, rings, lives.
Rings and speed and stuff. That is, if I to quickly look as well, go to the heroes, and then let's go here. It's in a function, like inside of a HUD. There should be a function in the top
HUD?
left called any of the sub HUDs, like the heroes HUD or the generations HUD, which, if you want to find what that is, it is widgets 01 HUD and then one of the folders.
So there's like HUD info, which is a structure. Where is this structure being set? It says HUD info.
It's mainly getting set, if I remember correctly, in the game mode.
In the game mode?
I think it's player control. It's either player controller or game mode, or it's both. Because the player's lives is an individual thing, and that would be being saved in the player controller.
Yeah.
Along with rings.
Is that in the event graph in the player controller, or?
Should be on the event graph.
No, the event graph's empty. Oh wait, no, wait, hold up. Over here.
You're on the AI one.
Oh no, PC player controller. I looked in the wrong spot. Okay, so yeah, there's like the HUD ref. It sets itself up as a HUD ref. Update HUD ref or HUD character ref, which
that's for when we're swapping characters in game.
Yeah. I mean, it's done at the very beginning. It's like event begin play. It sets the reference.
Yeah, it's just part of a function for swapping, and it just is the same code you need anyway, so it's just plopped on the start as well.
Yeah, so this here is what, like, it says update HUD, and wait, where is this? Wait, no. HUD ref. Okay, so this is the HUD master. All the information is being set in the HUD master, and then there's a new HUD, which is this here, W_game HUD. Like, that's where this information is said. Widget info, which contains like rings, time, score, lives, and all that stuff. And it's also creating a reference to the master character right here, which it does, like the player controller does by casting to the player character in the beginning. It does so right here, saves it as a reference, and then it goes down here. And then sets the character reference as well as the HUD reference into the HUD. And that's where it gets like its widget info and all that kind of stuff. So like it sets all that information here. Widget info, grabs like the ring, score, lives, and it also like updates the character reference, which is used for things like tracking, boost energy, and flight energy and power energy and stuff like that. Which all that stuff is used in individual HUD components. So updating the HUD is probably a little bit more complicated than some of the other things that you would want to update and change. But
there's a whole bunch of roundabout ways to get information onto the HUD that I've had to employ for certain features.
It's also super modular. Like, there's a lot of things about the other characters that are modular, but they require like a lot of work. And not that the HUD work doesn't require a lot of work, but I'm like, a lot of the work you have to do in the other characters also involve working around things that already exist inside of the character blueprints, like abilities and state references and objects and things like that in characters' default physics. But I'm not a HUD master. I don't know much about anything in terms of Unreal HUDs. It's one of the things on Unreal I know next to nothing about. Only the very minimum things that Reese has taught me, and even then, I just keep forgetting every single time I use it. I'm like, fuck, I forgot.
Yeah, it's awkward to try and explain how to get stuff on the HUD to work. I feel like my answer to your question, Chill, is going to be terrible. But, like, I can't, like, both the fact that it's 3 in the morning for me now, and like, HUDs are kind of awkward to try and explain how to get to work. Because it comes down to a very, like, personal need.
Yeah. It's like, it's what do you need done? Then, like, we could answer that question, but
I know you said you need the boost turning off. Like I said, the best thing to probably do is just empty Sonic's character widget variable inside of the BP Sonic blueprint and turn boost off in there too. Yeah. And I'd imagine that should work fine. But don't quote me on that. It may throw out an error.
If you want to edit a character's abilities, you can go to defaults, go to right character and AB, which will bring up character abilities enabled, and you can enable and disable the abilities that a character has. So this is in the speed parent. If you wanted to change it in the child, you would do this here. Like, I could open Whisper and show you, but that would involve opening up Whisper. Something like this doesn't exist in the power and the flight characters because the flight characters and power characters don't have as eccentric abilities as the speed characters do. So it's a lot more simplistic in those blueprints. But if you wanted to change something for every flight parent or flight character, again, you'd change it into flight parent and override it in its individual children. If you wanted to disable the boost or have the boost disabled by default, you could turn that off and like compile, and it would by default turn everything off for the boost off for all the speed characters. We could have it so like if it's off, like if the boost is disabled, it could also like by default go ahead and disable the HUD if it doesn't already do that. I don't know if it does that because it's like a boost enabled. That's false.
Yeah,
it doesn't do anything.
Checked. Yeah, I checked it. It doesn't seem to do anything in the code to remove the boost bar.
It wouldn't be difficult just on this false line. Just be like, all right, disable your boost bar, or like on startup, it could disable the boost bar. Like on begin play, we can check to see if it's enabled or disabled. We could just enable and disable parts of the HUD based on that, which would not be difficult. So, well, are there any other questions or concerns? Because we've been going for about 2 hours and 40 minutes. Most of that time was spent on other things. But I feel like as soon as like I upload this onto YouTube, we can just start referring to it, and people will have somewhere they can go back to understand how a lot of this stuff works. So, calling for any last minute questions, and then we're probably gonna have to get going. I'm planning on watching Doctor Strange tonight, and I'll have to get ready for that here in about 30 minutes.
And I have to sleep.
No, you don't. And we can always do like an additional stream again in the future, explaining more things.
I said I'm probably going to have to do a video or stream about removing excess stuff to the HUD, like, you know, like all of the HUD themes and that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if anyone else has any questions or concerns, you can go and share them. I'll wait like a minute or two. I know we went over a lot of information, like a lot, but it's all super important information. And we didn't really even go everything I wanted to, just because it took way longer than I thought. I didn't think it would take this long to go over some of this more basic stuff. But we managed to fill almost 3 entire hours of nothing but tutorial stuff. We didn't really get sidetracked. We didn't like joke around too much. We basically just talked about everything we wanted to, and it filled about 2 hours and 40 minutes. If you could look in the Discord support. If you have questions to ask on stream, I do request you ask on stream and not in Discord. I don't really look at Discord during the stream. What is this?
I don't know. Bunch of stuff.
Set the default pawn class to none. Don't set it to Sonic.
Yeah, in the selected game mode.
So there's like default pawn class. Set it to none. Don't have a default pawn class.
Oh, I need to push my changes. File, save all. Let's push these small changes.
Also, I assume you're using Onyx's Unreal Engine 5 update. I can't guarantee things will work in Unreal Engine 5 because they probably changed how a lot of things function in Unreal Engine 5. So, and I'm not familiar with Unreal Engine 5, so I can't know how to fix some issues. So, I would suggest trying that, and if that doesn't work, then I'm not sure. Make sure your player start information is set correctly. Like I said, make sure you have this here in the level, and player start is its tag, player start 1. The very first thing we went over. Oh, did Jay stop by?
Yeah, he did.
Oh.
He was muted because he realized we were streaming. He was there for the majority of it as well.
Probably just gonna reset the whole project because yeah. One comment, I probably should have made this at the beginning of the stream. If you're not familiar with how Unreal Engine works, don't be making a whole bunch of random fucking changes. I don't want to sound rude, but if you're gonna make a whole bunch of changes without knowing what you're doing and then get confused on why stuff's not working, don't come complaining to me about it. I'm not going to be able to help you. I don't know what you've done. I don't know what the changes you've made are. So I'm not saying that like to you specifically, Chill, but I'm like, some people have done that, and I'm just like, what do you expect from me in this situation? you don't know how to use Unreal Engine, you went in and you just did a whole bunch of stuff, and then you're confused as to why things aren't working. So, I learned, but I wasn't trying to complain. Excuse. Yeah, like I said, I mentioned at the very, very, very start of the stream, the very, very first thing I even said before we got into the tutorial stuff was look up tutorials. Even if you're a trial and error kind of person, look up tutorials. Like, that will exponentially increase the rate in which you learn. Having a very basic understanding on how things function will vastly increase the rate in which you learn how to use Unreal Engine. There are people out there who have dedicated parts of their lives to teaching Unreal Engine. I am not one of those people. I will teach you Infinity Plus stuff. I will teach you stuff about this framework. I will gladly do that any day. But when it comes to teaching basic Unreal Engine stuff, I'm not going to do that. I might answer a quick question here and there if it's a small and easy one, but if you're going to just keep asking, not the general you, not you, Chill, like if you, the general you, is in the people working on things, if you're going to ask a question like a million different fucking Unreal Engine questions, I'm not going to answer them. Is Emmanuel back?
I'm back to see the end of it.
Yeah, we was about to finish up here soon.
Okay, nice.
So any other questions by anyone else? We've gone over basically everything. If you ask a question and it's something we already went over, I will say we already went over it. Wait for the video to come out. This video will probably, this dev stream will probably be uploaded earlier. I'm gonna try and get it out probably like Saturday or Sunday. Because I will have time to do that coming up here soon. And considering it's a little bit more of one of those need to know basis streams, getting it out sooner is better. So this is probably one of the times where I will break the norm and get it out as soon as possible rather than wait until next Monday.
There weren't any questions that like I could have helped with while I was gone, was there?
Not to my knowledge. Jill had asked like what would they do if they wanted to completely remove the boost, which me and Reese kind of just handled.
Yeah. Maybe after we're done with 1.0, since we won't be dedicating as much time, maybe we could do like small little tutorials like, hey, if you want to remove the boost or replace it with this is how you would do it just for funsies.
I want to start doing that before 1.0, like when we get close to 1.0. I want to create like, maybe not release, but I want to create a bunch of videos discussing tutorial related stuff. Like we'll just talk about it and then I'll upload it after 1.0 is released. That way we can have like a collection of videos made and ready. Yeah,
kind of like those Unreal Engine videos, like, hey, this is how you would, like, instead of just showing you like the structure of things, just asking like walkthroughs, like, hey, if you want to do this, this is how you do it. Like, let's say one example is like, hey, it will probably be a multi-part video where it's like, hey, this is what you want to do if you want to make this homing attack modifier, or make the homing attack kill yourself instantly. I don't know, just or replace the boost with a slide or something, you know, things like that.
Yep. That'll be something we try and do closer to 1.0. It won't be out until after 1.0, but we might start working on it before 1.0.
Yep.
I did mention this in the Discord earlier. So if you're not a part of the Discord, you probably not heard of this, which, by the way, join the Discord. That's where you can get all the up-to-date information.
And bug us.
Yes, and annoy us. If you have questions, you can also ask us on the Discord. I just wanted to get this out so I can stop answering the most basic bitch questions that I get every single other day. Like, every other day I get the exact same questions. I'm like, okay, let's just make this so that way people can have them answered. That way I can answer some actually interesting questions.
Sorry. That's how it is.
I was going somewhere with that point. I forgot.
So Discord 1.0.
Oh, right. This update, this upcoming update, this is what I announced on the Discord. We will probably, this next update probably will not be 1.0. It was brought to my attention a little while ago that it has been just under 1 year since Colorful Combat released. We have once again spent an entire year on a fucking update.
We didn't intend to do this. Just this time, it wasn't because we had so much stuff per se. It was a lot of it was also just personal stuff. Like life started picking up again.
We spent a whole year on Colorful Combat because of lockdown. Like lockdown presented us with a lot of extra spare time, meaning we were able to do a fuck ton of work. And Colorful Combat was a huge update, and we spent like an entire year on it. We spent an entire year on this one, but we didn't have all the same spare time we did that during Colorful Combat. So we spent a whole year on this update, and it's not going to be anywhere near as big as Colorful Combat. It will probably be as big as the 3 and Knuckles update, which the 3 and Knuckles update was pretty chunky. Like,
yeah,
not gonna lie, 3 and Knuckles was a pretty chunky update. It wasn't no little pitty tiny update. Like, we had introduced the parenting system all the way back then.
Physics structures, Knuckles, Tails in their basic formats.
So 3 and Knuckles was pretty big. Colorful Combat was much bigger. This update is probably going to be closer to the size of the 3 and Knuckles update in terms of like just sheer content, bug patching, and improvements. But
yeah, a lot of patching.
Yeah, a lot of patching. This update fixes a lot of issues that we've had in the past. But we're probably going to be releasing this update soon, TM, depending on how fast we can get Whisper done from this point on. Which, by the way, we did find an animator for Whisper, and he has been doing an amazing job. I'm talking like top tier shit. Like the stuff he's been giving us is really good. So I'm super excited to finally be able to show Whisper here soon.
I haven't been able to talk to him yet, but he seems pretty cool.
Oh yeah, he's a really nice guy.
Oh no, he's terrible. If Fizz vouches for him.
Yeah, 1.0 will be a much smaller update then. It will contain some new content, and it will contain a lot more patching and bug fixing and just cleanup, like general work. That's what 1.0 will contain, which hopefully we can get 1.0 by the end of the year, if not closer to like summer or fall. At the end of the year, the latest, summer or fall, the earliest. I'm hoping to get this update done within the next month or two.
Yeah, I think we should get this update done by like June, before the 4th of July. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I want to try and get it done before July. So hopefully by the end of June, we can get this update out, depending on how Whisper goes. It is almost entirely dependent on how Whisper goes.
Yeah, because like Fizz would put his foot down. It's like, we're like, she's got to be done. And I kind of agree. She's to the point where it's like, yeah, she should be done.
She should be getting close to being done.
Yeah, like maybe like after this update, obviously we can't help ourselves. We're probably going to tweak her and fix things, because what's going to stop us? Who's going to stop us from fixing her? But she'll be a character. From
a functional standpoint, like in terms of like as a character with abilities and integration, she is almost complete. A vast majority of the work that's left to be done on her is patchwork, fixing things up, making things look better, and visual updating. So getting her proper animations, getting her proper visual cues, some unique particles, some other assets and stuff like that. Like the two major things that are left with Whisper are animation related stuff and patching. Like, we got to fix up the abilities that we have in place for her. We got to make sure that they all work and don't explode the moment you use them. Add some minor integrated like abilities or functionality into it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we have some fixes and stuff we still need to do, updates, refinements. I still need to look at that thing we were talking about with Knuckles that needs to be updated.
There is also one Wisp object left to work on. We have all of the Wisp objects that we have planned completed, except for one. Actually, no, we have a second one, but that one's not going to be a big deal. Okay. That item being the Ivory Lightning Rails, which I would actually like to have your help on. It's like the one Wisp object I kind of need help with.
Yeah, that's fair. Also should probably...
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, I think I also need to look at Pink Spike and Yellow Drill again at some point, if I get the chance.
Like, just patch them up a little bit.
Yeah, again, because they're always going to be weird.
Yeah, but in terms of that Wisps are getting much closer to being done. They're like 98% done. Like I would say like 97, 98% done. Just some minor
Usually
visual,
they're pretty good.
some minor visual things. We could have like a transformation particle that plays, a detransformation particle. Like update their currently existing particles and stuff like that. Say what?
Get on it, Emmanuel.
Well, you can do particles too, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
I'd like to make a particle. I've yet to actually make a particle. I'd like to do
You've
that.
come to the right person. I know exactly the CT How video to start you on.
I know exactly the British person I can tell to do this.
Delegation, people. Delegations. But yeah, we have things in the work, and this update's going to seem a bit more meatier than what we've shown because we're not showing part of it, but it's still not going to be colorful combat. Yeah, but it's not going to be colorful combat big. But I mean, hey, Silver can pick up things, so like, we're doing something right.
That's like an entire branch of this update that is not done, but pretty close to being done that we just don't ever talk about, and that's Silver. Like, yeah, Silver is pretty functional in this. He's way better than he was in both Colorful Combat. Like in the Colorful Combat update.
Child.
He's like Shadow. We keep forgetting this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Shadow.
Completely ignoring Metal Sonic. We never talk about Metal Sonic ever.
Yeah.
We don't talk about Metal Sonic.
I'm going to kill you.
We don't talk about Metal Sonic.
But
yeah, but we should probably get out of here soon.
Yeah, probably. I'm gonna have to get ready to go here in a minute. I'm gonna go watch Doctor Strange.
And I'm gonna go pass out.
Yeah, I need to get ready to bed for bed too. I have work.
I'm going to jail.
Wow, that's where you're going. Right, I'm taking over the project as we discussed.
No, we're gonna split it 50-50. I get Infinity Minus, you get Perennial.
No.
Whose idea was Perennial?
It's mine.
Oh,
yeah.
It was terrible.
It's the game that nobody should know about yet.
Oh, that's right.
You just fucking leaked the name.
Dude, no one's gonna pay attention to this part of the stream. This is just where we just talk about things we'll never do, like finish Infinity Plus. I mean,
damn right.
We haven't decided yet, but we will probably be announcing the rebrand with this update. I don't know if this update will be named by the rebrand. We will probably announce what the rebrand will be, but this update will not be branded under the new brand. It'll still be Infinity Plus, just to prevent confusion.
Yeah, we'll have a huge rebrand campaign more so after this.
Yeah, we'll announce what it is with this update because I think we've held on to it long enough. And if we announce it sooner, we can get the name out there and build up hype and attention before the 1.0 update.
Yeah.
And for Sage.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Sage. Right.
I'm not concerned about Sage.
Yeah, this is a framework anyway. Like, come on, Sage is for games.
Frameworks never get any attention at Sage.
Yeah. Well, they kind of care about Infinity Plus to an extent because of the brand to an extent.
Yeah. I actually had to argue our way into it. Like, I actually had to get a hold of the administrators for Sage and discuss our situation with them in order to actually be allowed into Sage. I forgot I had to do that. That was...
Wait, really?
Yeah, I did, because of the controversy around Vanilla Infinity Engine. They had banned Infinity Engine.
So you had to explain to them, like, this is different.
Yeah, they had banned the original Infinity Engine from Sage, and after we had started our work, I had to, talk with them. I'm like, hey, we're expanding on it, we're making something new with it, and we are not affiliated with the previous owner at all. And, I had to explain all this shit, I had to argue for it, and eventually they were like, alright, but we'll keep an eye on you, and I'm like, okay. And eventually they changed it so that you can submit Infinity Engine games, just not an Infinity.
The original.
Yeah, you can't submit the original Infinity Engine framework or any minor derivatives. If it's a minor derivative, they won't accept it.
So Max and Atoms.
The Max and Atoms, I think, is a big enough derivative. I don't know for a fact. It might be. But if you had if you had changed a couple of things and it didn't work, but we had changed so much to the point where we were able actually to rebrand as Infinity Plus at that time. So we're like, we've done a lot with this. It's very different from the original, and we don't have any communication with the original creator at all. Like, we don't even know the guy. So, and they were like, okay, and then they allowed us.
Yeah, man, that was a while ago when we did our first stage with just what was called Emmanuel's Wiener Zone. Now,
years ago.
Emmanuel's Wiener Zone.
Man, I'm not gonna lie. Infinity Plus sucked back then.
It kind of did. It still sucks now, but it's better.
It's better. I mean, look, we have an object testing place.
Object testing.
That means we're heading up in the world. Anyway, on that note,
we should probably get
nostalgia.
Going.
Yeah. Check in 2 weeks from now to hear us talk about shit we don't actually know about.
Yep. If a lot of people really did like this, we could do another tutorial stream. We might even make tutorial streams a separate thing from dev streams if we really want to, just so people can really get going on how things function.
Yeah, we want to teach you how to make stuff. Please.
Some of those I will probably handle myself. Some of them I will probably have Reese and Emmanuel with me, because things like HUD related or deep coded physics related shit,
or combat
related, I'd probably have Emmanuel on me or on with me. Not on me.
Okay, so let's get out of here. So that's all she wrote. See you guys on the 30th of May. Yeah. And when will these videos be uploaded, Fizz?
Yes.
All right. With that said, this is Emmanuel.
This Luke dies. All right. So yeah, our next dev stream will probably be on the 30th. This video will be updated or uploaded, I want to say confidently, the 22nd. I don't know if I'll get it all edited and finished for the 21st. We will have to see. I'm not going to be editing it. It'll all be in YouTube because I have to like add timestamps in YouTube. Like it's a whole separate thing. But we'll be going over that then. So 21st at the earliest, 22nd most likely. So until then, we will be seeing everybody next time.
All right, bye. And I will definitely not be on top of Fizz. Fizz, what the fuck?
Bye.
Bye.